Now I got
No,
I got some strong views on the Nexus mod stuff, but I don't
all right.
want to start
Yeah,
that.
I can tell.
I don't want to start that because I do want to play more of a moderator role here. Who wanted
No,
to
no,
start
start
the?
it. I was ready. I was ready for you to start that.
Right.
Wait, what's
I
the
think-
context of
Okay,
this?
Yeah,
so
we need you. We need
I can
you to,
show
to like.
slides that have all the hooplas and everything in one because I prepared it for my tomorrow stream. Um, if you don't mind, I'm gonna show you some slides to show all the context in regards to the Nexus Mods thing.
Can
yeah,
you do that?
yeah, that's
While
perfectly fine. Yeah.
Tachyon, well, Tachyon
All
has
right,
his lament
give me a
because I
minute.
want to hear Tachyon on this. I'm modding now. Tachyon, go.
I'm screen sharing. I'm
Alright.
I'm showing Appa's thing on my screen. So
All right, so I'll explain the context for this conversation. So it all started off with this post from this person over here who said Nexus Mods website update. Apparently, they made an official announcement that they stand against transphobia, bigotry. The platform's no room to hate. Any mods that promote this will be removed, etc., all of that stuff. And this person is excited, and a lot of people look at this post and think, wow, Nexus Mods is doing exactly that. That's horrible. Why is Nexus Mod doing that? But, well, turns out Nexus Mod didn't actually do that. And this person apparently hates on white people, I guess. And I guess that's a lot of people that contentious that people have. Nexus Mod announced to ban pronoun removal mods, and apparently that is a win, and a lot of people disagree on that. Well, Nexus Mod hasn't actually banned any mods yet, but there are evidence to show that Nexus Mods will probably do that in the future, as they have a guideline that did say that content that may be generally construed as provocative, divisive, objectionable, all of that stuff, that will be banned, or abusive towards any real world group, that will be banned. Includes politics, race, religion, gender, identity, sexuality, or social class, all of that stuff. Nexus Mods are basically going to ban all of those stuff. They do have a history on banning political mods. They have banned US political mods back in October 2020, and they have also banned the mods of in not Starfield, Spider-Man Remastered, where there's that mod that allows you to replace all the LGBT flag with US flags. And apparently, according to Netflix, sorry, not what did I say, Netflix, Nexus Mods, this is a silly drama. Drama so silly that all the comments are locked and everything like that. So, yeah, basically that's the context of the whole conversation. Also, one more thing, somebody did suggest a pronoun removal in a Starfield Mod Ideas forums, but apparently that suggestion was removed. So, and somebody also asked the Nexus Mod supporter, hey, can we have a mod that removed the pronoun option in the game? And apparently the email is real. Mike from Nexus Mod Support said, no, this is our website. We can do whatever we want fit. This is private website. We can do whatever we want, and then we're just gonna ban the mods that we deem
I
hateful.
invite
or
you
all that
to
stuff.
use your account settings pages to delete account fix. Good job, Mike. Well done.
well,
I have a hot take. I do have a hot take. I don't know exactly how this game works, but actually, if it's only on the side of the player who uses the mod and nobody else has to deal with it, then I'm okay with this being here, especially because it allows people to shut the hell up. Because this is
Perfect.
actually diversity of options, and if someone's really so offended about it, then all the people that they lament about it can be laughed at again as we point to them and we say, hey, just install this mod, genius. And then it goes away, and then you don't have to cry anymore. It's almost like magic. Okay, so I know that contradicts the erasure thing, but this is again only if like it only impacts the user who uses it. I don't know if that's necessarily the case. I also just quickly point out for context, there's two metas here, right? The first meta is this mod in particular that gets rid of pronouns and the removal of pronouns, and the banning of political content in general. I'm generally like for that because there's a lot of things that the right wing would call political content, which is actually just hate-driven content.
Yeah, I mean,
Fair.
the thing is, at the end of the day, it's a private platform. It's just like Twitter, right? Like you, like if they just want to like remove anything they want, they can remove anything that's like, oh yeah, anybody with green hair is not allowed, and they would be in their rights to do that, right? Like it's not. I don't know. It's like
Well,
this
up to a
is another
certain
big
point.
nothing burger, but I mean, I would.
yeah,
Up
Appabend,
to a
did you
certain
see?
point, there are
Did you
protections
see the
against-
post on the forums by the webmaster? By the way, I linked
No,
it.
I didn't.
So this is
No,
what
I did not.
this is what changed my mind because I thought this might be fake news at first too, but someone posted, the webmaster Dark One on the forums says our policy on this sort of thing is laid out in this post, and it's about the Spider-Man thing. So if the webmaster of the site said that, I think they're probably going to remove the mods, and but again, they haven't done so yet. It doesn't
Most
seem
likely
so.
they will.
Yeah.
Can I? You know what? I agree. It's a private platform. They're allowed to pick whatever they want. There was a female mod, or there was a modder I know from Finland, Eleonora. She does like a lot of Fallout and Skyrim mods. She had the pride flags as a mod.
She's definitely trans, right?
I
That
don't
is the
know.
most trans activity I've ever heard of. Let's
No,
go.
but I mean, though, she had.
Modding and flags? You don't
No,
say.
that's not what.
modding
guys,
Fallout
a
and
quick second
Skyrim.
here.
Come
She
on.
had all the mods put in place with, let's say, like all the plot pride flags. She put all the different types of pride flags in there, and then some douchebag came in and said, and even mocked her on Facebook, saying I had it removed on the Bethesda thing. Yeah, I'm against things like that as well.
It's just at the end of the day, it's mods.
despicable.
People have the freedom to choose whatever mods they like. I do also have to point out that Nexus does not have the mod that converts all the trans flags into US flag, but it does have mods that do the opposite.
That's the thing.
As in, that it does have the mod that does the opposite, converts all the flag into LGBT rainbow flags. It does have those mods. If you
Base.
look up on Nexus, it's right there.
So, look, the argument that Nexus are a private platform, therefore they can do whatever they want, is false. Actually, there are protections against discrimination in private business for various what they call protected characteristics, which are not groups of people, but characteristics people might have. You can't discriminate against somebody based on their sex, race, gender, fucking sexuality, right? All of these things. And that means you can't discriminate against somebody for being white or being black or being gay or being straight, right? And so any of those things they would legally have to be abide by if they're a company in the United States or the United Kingdom or any of these other Western democracies that have similar laws.
Well, I don't think that applies though, because they have like Section 230 protections, because this is other users uploading content onto their site.
I also agree with that, but like I'm just pointing out that, like, the argument that just because you're a private business doesn't mean you can do whatever you want, right? If they started rejecting a whole bunch of service users from their site for being white or for being black or gay or trans or whatever, right? Then they would be subject to being sued for discrimination, right?
In the context of the whole hoopla, it's that the what do you call it? It's the mods that remove LGBT people.
Yeah, no, I understand.
LGBT
I
flags.
understand that. I was
Right.
just sort of making the point around private businesses being able to do whatever they want. They can't. Right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, we're
but
not
the secondary,
debating that.
the secondary point is that they are,
should they, right? Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So the secondary point is that they're a public forum, right? So everything that's uploaded to the public forum is like visible to all the other users and what have you. And I would argue that, like, generally, if you're going to have a public forum, you have a responsibility to try and make sure that it isn't a place that breeds hate, right? And I think that towards that end, banning content that is obviously directed towards the erasure of LGBT people is a perfectly reasonable and valid action.
Based.
Okay, now I'm gonna go on my heel versus baby
Oh
face rant.
no, Tacky!
Yeah.
What?
Okay.
Are you serious?
Okay, one, I think yes, they're a private company. They can do whatever they want within the confines of the law. Yeah, I agree with that 1,000%. But I think it's really stupid for one of the main modding sites out there. Like, this is one of the top modding sites. I think it's really stupid for them to say, "Hey, look, you can have any mod you want, but you can't have a mod that removes pronouns as an option." Like, it's so fucking dumb, dude. Like, why do they not fight this battle?
Reddit is one of the largest websites out there. Should they not be able to enforce Reddit rules?
They should be able to, but like, we can criticize those rules too as consumers of their site, of the site.
Wait,
I think
what
I
the
only
heck? So
supported.
Reddit
I'm
should
not.
be-
I'm not going down this road with tack. By the way, I only said the thing I said as a bit of a meme.
Do you think? Like when you say it's a stupid move, what does that mean? Why is it stupid? What are the consequences of this move that are like bad?
Well, generally,
I-
Oh no, that
as
was
a
free feed,
consumer,
sorry.
as a consumer and as someone who mods games sometimes. I don't make the mods, really. I used to a couple times, but like I mostly just download
What
other people's
mods
mods.
are you making, Tacky?
I made
what
some-
mods are you making?
I made some Halo mods actually back in the and StarCraft
Yeah?
and StarCraft, yeah. But they were never public. It was just for fun single player stuff, you know.
Interesting.
Yeah, you can have the pistol shootout like warthogs full of Marines and stuff, like in Combat Evolved. It was pretty cool. It's true story. True
Okay.
story. Anyway,
All right.
I just as someone who wants to download mods sometimes, I don't want the site to be like super policing it. Like maybe I might be fine with it. They're like, okay, you can't have mods where you like reenact a genocide. Like whatever, fine. But like this is such a minor thing. Like just allow it.
That's one of the consequences
so that's-
of website
Sorry, go
that
ahead.
goes public,
After-
right? There's one of the
I-
consequences of website that goes big as Nexus. Eventually, they have to adhere to certain rules and certain regulations, everything like that. I suppose you can still be able to find mods like that change that in other websites that are not as popular as Nexus. And I suppose in this context, Nexus still have mods that are more gameplay oriented, more gameplay focused. They're still there. So if we're going to go for just gameplay purposes, I guess it's there. But the problem is mods like removing pronouns is such a niche mod that appeals to a
Well, it's
very
not just
specific
that,
subset
right?
of people, right?
Hold on.
Right, it appeals
I'm
to
triggered.
a specific subset of people who are the kind of people who are the kind of people you might not want to welcome into a community that involves
Exactly.
like that is broad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's that they don't want that kind of community to be in those websites.
Because before you know it, if you allow that, you're gonna have to allow people coming in and fucking putting swastika flags in place of the LGBT.
Yeah, what about
flags,
swastika flags?
right?
Wait a second here. The ACLU here in the United States, they even defended neo-Nazis.
I think you're talking about the
What is-
ADL and Skokie, Illinois. That's the anti-defamation.
It was the
League.
ACLU. No, it was the ACLU.
Yes,
Wait,
it was the ACLU, not
What, the ACLU did Skokie, Illinois?
Yes, they defend everyone because
You guys are getting your turn now.
Oh
okay,
shit!
guys,
It is the ACLU. My bad.
Yes.
You're right. I got the two
American
mixed up.
Civil Liberties Union. They defend everybody because if they take sides, then they become the thing they swear to fight against.
You know they lost that case though.
But it's
They lost
still
What are you
that case,
talking
the
about?
Nazis
Wait, what are you
didn't-
talking about?
The Nazis didn't march in Skokie.
what?
What?
They lost the case. The Nazis didn't march in Skokie.
No,
Go
the United
look it
States
up.
has a very, very broad. The Supreme Court has a very broad view of free speech, which I think they should, which is good. Are you?
I mean, I think having neo-Nazis march through Jewish neighborhoods is something that you probably don't want as a country. But if you think that that's fine, then
No?
I don't know. I guess
Yeah,
that's an
it's
entirely
like-
different
this is-
argument.
I do. I
This is
do
the
actually think it's
tolerance
fine.
paradox.
I
If
think.
I may,
I
this
think
is-
it's
this is-
bad. No. I want to. I'll let you go. I'm sorry. I will let you go in a second.
Yeah,
But
you want you
I
want a mob
do-
of people outside your door who want to kill you.
I
Do you want that?
I want Nazis and anybody else to be able to have freedom of speech, because once you draw that line and be like, oh well, this one group, oh well, we can make this other group too, and this other group and this other group, and
No, it's not about a group.
You're gonna
It's
take
not
away
about a group.
all these people's free speech, and it's gonna
It's
be
not about a group.
Once
It's about what they're advocating and what they represent.
And if they advocate for violence, that's against the law, right? Inciting
I would
violence, that's
stand-
bad. But if they're
I would
just
stand-
protesting and holding signs, no, that should be fine.
I would stand right with you, right? if it was some fucked up fucking black nationalist group that was marching through your neighborhood, right? Fucking armed up, fucking combat vests and shit, going on a protest march screaming "Kill Whitey," okay? I would be in exactly the same position saying, yeah, fuck that shit. Fucking kick them out. Don't let them into your neighborhood. Those people are violent, they're dangerous. They advocate for the genocide of people like you. I don't want to fucking see that.
And this is
And
the
neo-Nazism, by the way, right, is not just, oh, I have some different opinions and I don't really like black people. No, it is very explicitly an ideology based around genocide, around the wiping out of people they see as inferior racially, right?
Yeah, but
And-
you
and-
also think though that heel versus babyface is engaging in violence against trans people by going on his rant. Like I'm not sure I want
did
you
not-
or anybody else to
I
decide.
don't think that was
I
being
did
said,
not.
but okay.
I did not say
Hold
that.
on. Can I respond first? Can to these losers? Wait, hold on. Can I do? I'm kidding. I love you guys. Okay, I love you guys.
Yeah,
Wait,
if
hold on.
anything on next in line food shops.
Yeah. Okay.
Ooh,
All
them
right.
fighting words.
Okay.
So this
Wait.
is-
Okay.
This brings us to the tolerance paradox, where
Wait. Hold
I
on.
just want to clarify because you accused me of it just before we move on. Right, I did not say heels is engaging in violence. What I said was that J.K. Rowling directly donated to legal cases that were designed to take away the healthcare of people like me, which results in our suffering and death. Right, and I said that is a form of violence. Right.
Okay,
Wait,
you
were
are right. You're right.
referring to
I'm
me?
Right.
No, you're
Thank
right,
you. Oh.
Vivian. I'm sorry. You're right. I mixed it up. You did say J.K. Rowling. My bad.
Okay.
But if J.K. Rowling were to do a 1,000,000-person march on Westminster, not violent, just a peaceful march, a 1,000,000-person march on Westminster to try and change the laws on trans stuff, do you think that she deserves the protection of freedom of speech?
may I answer?
I think that depends on what she's trying to change the law to. If she's trying to change the law to put all trans people in a vat of acid, right, then no, I don't think that she should have that right. I think that we should oppose her by any fucking means necessary, because for that law to come about would mean the deaths of fucking hundreds of thousands of people. So no.
Wait, hold on. Can I go? Can I
I
go
think
first?
Ninetails actually. I did say she can go earlier.
Okay.
So sorry.
Okay.
So this brings us to the problem of the tolerance paradox, where the more you increase tolerance, the more you actually run the risk of decreasing tolerance for more marginalized groups. Say, for example, in Viv's example, right? When the Nazis are marching down the street, I'm pretty sure Jewish people aren't going to walk down those streets, right? So we're not even at free speech. We're at, can people even walk down the streets with these people on the streets as well? And I think Jewish people have a right to not feel safe. So if we're
feel safe, I think you mean.
Right to feel safe.
Yeah.
to feel safe. What did I say?
So you said
Not to
Jewish
feel
people
safe.
have a right to not feel safe.
Oh,
No,
sorry.
that's fine. Carry on. I just didn't want you getting clipped out of context. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Don't worry. People do that all the time. Don't worry about it.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, that's how I get famous. I'm just kidding. So obviously we want them to feel safe. And in order to do that, we need to limit how much we actually tolerate the actions of Nazis and how much free speech we give them to espouse their hatred.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I want to address the thing. Just bringing it back to the Nexus Mods thing. All right. You guys are being remedial. Okay. I don't know what it is about the Nexus Mods thing, but for example, right, we can look at several large platforms that have clearly standing rules. The larger you grow in size, the more rules that you have to enforce to look better in the public eyes. Because I know earlier I was talking about optics, and I'll be even more consistent this time around. All right, because earlier you guys were agreeing with me on optics when I was talking to the more progressive people on this panel, right? But I'll be consistent with this. All right, when it comes to optics, you want to look good. All right. When you have people posting things such as kill the trans person mod, okay, on your Nexus mod forum or whatever the heck, right? Obviously that's going to look bad, okay? And this is I'm going to bring up another example, okay? Not specifically the Nexus mods, but this happened a few years ago and you guys are too young to remember this, okay? So when I was a young one, okay, and in Steam community, they had a game called Kill the F Slur. And it was specifically a shooting game about killing this very stereotypically offended, portrayed gay man, and it was all about killing him. And when confronted about this, the game creator said, "Oh no, I just thought it was a good joke." You know what I mean? Like the defense of it was a good joke. I don't hate gay people. All right. And then it was allowed
Could've fooled
under
me.
that time. All right. But you guys know how big Steam is. You guys know how big Steam is. It blew up on news articles. Okay. It did not look good for Steam. Okay. And at the end of the day, even though you can say like, "Oh my God, this is for the sake of free speech," this is for whatever like that, you can't have that. Why does Destiny of all people moderate his channel and chat and whatever the heck? Why doesn't he just allow like the N-word being spammed in his chat? Why doesn't XQC allow that? Why doesn't Trainwrecks allow that? Even though they are supposedly like enabling fascists and whatever like that, right? Why do even they have a limit, right? And then I just want to go on to like the Twitter, right? Why does Twitter, even then Twitter, by Elon Musk, who is also a terrible person, right? Because I'm not saying he's a good person whatsoever. Why does even then he ban like certain kinds of things off? Like even he has limits as well, right? And even then,
Well, for him, it's more damage control. Let's be real.
Yeah, for real, yeah. Which is damage control. It is damage control because optics is damage control. That's absolutely true. And also another thing is that Ninetails, I want to refute something you said. Okay, so when you said something about the tolerance of the paradox of tolerance, you said something along the lines of like the Nazis or whatever. Like, sure, I can sort of agree with that, but at the same time, right? It's you're talking about an extreme scenario. I would say in most scenarios, when you're talking about like reaching across and talking about it with different people and etc., right? It is more about that people are, it's like more about like the more medium version of that, not like the most extreme version of that where you're just like tolerating, oh my God, we're gonna kill somebody. I mean, that's it.
Foodshops, really simply, Foodshops. Like, if you have a forum that allows anti-trans content or anti-LGBT content, then broadly, less trans people and less LGBT people are going to want to engage and be in that
Viv,
platform.
you get to talk to her later. Viv, I got a veto.
Yeah.
I got a veto. So, Foodshops, you've been talking about optics all fucking night. Eat your own goddamn words, because when it comes to like this whole goddamn thing of like when a city lets Nazis walk down the street, then Jewish fucking people see that and they're like, "Oh my God, my city doesn't care if people advocate for my erasure." If you want to talk about optics, then you should definitely be against cities letting Nazis march down the street.
No, because hang on. I want to give Can I give a free speech argument, please? Okay, so
Sure.
I think
Free speech absolutism.
I am. I know that's the basis of the United States, and we're the most progressive country in the world, baby. We're one of the most diverse countries in the world. We're extremely successful. America is fucking awesome. Okay, we got a lot of problems. America. Yeah,
America. Birthplace of the KKK.
You're also a
Jim
Trump
Crow.
fan, aren't you?
I'm not. I voted for Biden, but
well, free speech is how you got Trump.
You know what? What? No, I think I think the cancel culture stuff, that helped get Trump elected way more than the than the fact that he was allowed to express opinions.
That is such a childish analysis.
The point is,
if you think that that's the critical variable, then you were missing.
I think there were a lot of variables.
Like, it's just politically illiterate.
I think there were a lot of variables. But look, I'm not gonna outsource my decision making and my ability to analyze things to other people to such an extent where I'm going to bar myself from hearing viewpoints that I disagree with. Okay, I'm not going to let anyone decide.
No, I'm not interested.
I'm not going to let
not interested in that. You can hear those. You can hear the viewpoints, right? Like I work as a cult and extremism researcher. I consult on extremist movements, right? They say things that I think should be things that should not be legal to advocate for in public. They advocate for the genocides of large groups of people, right? But I can communicate that to you right now. I can say these groups advocate for the genocide of people, right? You're not being exposed to those viewpoints, and it is important that we research and educate on them. But it is likewise equally important that we frustrate their ability to actually achieve the goals that they want to achieve, because those goals are genocide, right?
What are you doing?
I do want to ask though, is advocating for violence covered in free speech?
I'd say no.
It depends. It depends, because in the Are we talking legally, or are we talking what we consider
There's
to be
the
free
Brandenburg standard, right? It's you have
Straight
to
up legally.
Yeah, so you can advocate for violence in the United States very easily by not presenting a clear and imminent danger, not giving a direct instruction, i.e., kill this person, right? That's a direct instruction, which would be illegal, right? That's one of the restrictions on free speech. Even America is not free speech absolutist, right? One of the restrictions on free speech that you have in the United States. However, if you were to get up on stage and say, it would be better if all these people were dead. It would be better if they could no longer prey upon our younglings. It would be these people are all pedophiles, and
actually
pedophiles
if you're
should be shot.
might.
Like you can get away with that in the United States.
That
Not
actually
quite so much
that
in
might
the
get
United
prosecuted.
Kingdom.
But who the
Appa,
fuck is?
what are you doing?
I mean, people say this every single fucking day on Twitter, right? And they're not getting prosecuted left, right, and center.
Because they're not.
Sorry.
They're not
Right.
Sorry.
what the hell is
Can you hear the drums? I'm sorry.
we can't hear
Sorry
the
about
drums.
that.
Fuck?
creating
Oh my.
because the creation of the consensus that we're seeing currently among the right that left-wing people in general, and more specifically LGBT people, are all pedophiles and groomers, right, is designed to increase violence against them, is designed to try and erase them from society, because if you look at all the fucking responses to any of these tweets, it's like pedophiles should be shot, groomers should be shot, fucking hang them all, whatever, right? Like the point is that you can advocate for violence in many ways other than simply saying you should go kill
We can
this
still
person.
hear you, App.
The vast the
we
vast
can
majority
still
of
hear
people
you.
who are
I'm sorry.
criti-
I'm so very sorry.
Bro, are you in the marching band? Oh, stop. Just mute your
I'm very,
mic.
very sorry
Look,
about that.
the vast
I'm very,
majority
very sorry
of
about
people who
that.
disagree with you on trans stuff aren't like neo-Nazis who are like gearing up the gas chambers, okay? The vast
I
majority of
agree.
people who disagree with you on this stuff are people who maybe have unreasonable concerns and maybe have reasonable concerns, and we should be able to discuss those openly and publicly. Now, if they do directly call for
Absolutely.
violence, that's already illegal. If you had a mob of people and you had someone on a podium saying it would be better if we didn't have these people here, and that would probably even meet the U.S. law's current standard.
No.
Because because
No,
you're
because it's been done. It's been done, right? We've had those court cases where
It's
people
called
have said very similar
terroristic
things.
threats. And yes,
That
they
is
are
not a
illegal
terroristic
here in the
threat. A
US.
terroristic threat is phoning up a place and saying, "I'm going to bomb this
No,
place," or "I'm going to
it's
shoot up this
threatening
place."
groups, it's threatening people, it's threatening violence. That's what under the U.S. law of a terroristic threat is. So yes,
I don't really want to get into the weeds of the legal stuff too much. I want to more address the first principle concern here, because I don't trust your definition. You say I can tell you about the extremist groups. You're going to tell me that X group or Y group or
Oh
Z
yeah, no,
group
you
is
should
bad.
do your own research. Like, you don't have to tell me. You can go and look at the sources for the information that I give you and make your own conclusions. I think that everybody should do that. Probably, most people should do that.
Okay,
Some people are
that's
too
good.
fucking
But
stupid.
who are you going to outsource the job to be like the censor, to be the one who decides who's allowed to speak and who's not? Because like someone has to have that role if we're assigning it a state function
so
to
I'm
it.
not talking about who's allowed to speak and who's not, right? Like we could people are, regardless of what laws we put in place, are going to speak, right? Like the kind of illegal speech that I talked about earlier, obviously for me to be able to report on it and consult on it has to be happening, right? Like it is happening somewhere. We have not restricted it to the point that people are unable to express it, right? What we have done is try to push it out of the public sphere as much as possible so as to reduce the risk of these people actually being able to incite violence and achieve those goals that they want to achieve. Right?
But by doing
Which
that, you would stop Nazis from holding a march, or presumably other groups too.
I think of the I think of, just like Ninetails mentioned earlier, right? I think of a person sitting inside their house as an armed group of militants who have the express desire to wipe out people like them, walk past their house, march through their neighborhood in force, right? And I see that because I am an anarchist and that I value freedom to the highest fucking degree, that autonomy comes before almost anything for me, right? That this is a restriction on the autonomy of the people who are being threatened currently. And it is a threat, right?
Wait, hold on. I guess the issue I have with that is that like once you walk down the path of violence, right? And I know that you define a lot of things as violence, but this is like a level of violence where you're going like, okay, I'm gonna go out there and actually I'm gonna like go and like I guess be justified in killing people, right?
What?
But the thing is, wait,
No,
yeah, right?
at no point did I ever say that. What?
Wait, because
No.
if they're Nazis advocating
there's a
for
law.
genocide, right? Like you have to go out and kill them, right?
No.
No? Then what do you do with them?
I mean, okay, so for one, currently in the structures that we have have legal systems. Like here in the United Kingdom, it would be a lot more difficult, not impossible, but a lot more difficult for a Nazi rally to be held. In Germany, it would be basically impossible for the National Socialist movement to march with their swastikas, right? Because the swastika is banned from public display, and I think even ownership. And I think Germany might even be going a little bit too far. But regardless, their solution has not been to go out and kill all the Nazis.
So
right?
your
Yeah.
example of the UK, that's literally a country where a guy went to jail. One, people are going to jail for tweets and Facebook posts. Two, people went to jail.
often a lot
People went to
more than
jail.
that.
People went to jail for literally training his dog to do a Nazi salute as a joke.
No, he didn't.
He paid a fine, I
Yeah,
think,
he did.
actually, right?
We know about
he paid a
Calzone.
fine.
He paid
You're not
it-
going to
he
get this
paid-
past us.
Yeah, he paid
This-
like
the powers
he
of
paid
this-
like $100. He paid like $120 fine.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how big the fine is.
I
The state is
think the
exercising
more
violence
important-
against an individual.
Hey,
I think it's
Can
more
I
important
read
to
the
talk
law
about the
then?
ideas and less about like okay, a UK versus America.
Well, we see
Okay.
how your framework is
Hey.
playing out in the real world,
Hey.
where people can't even train their dogs to do jokes.
guys,
I mean, this
Guys,
is not my
I
framework.
say
I
something?
think that the UK laws are also
yeah,
dumb.
no, go
My
ahead.
point-
Appa-
my point
Appa wants to
is-
say something.
I have something
Wait,
to say,
wait.
guys.
I just want to clarify. My point of bringing up these
Wait,
various
Appa
systems
wants to say something. Wait, Appa
was-
wants.
Okay, but Viv wants
No,
to
I'm not.
respond.
I don't want to
He
say
was
something.
having
Go
a
That was
ahead.
Leon. That was Leon.
It's me.
Oh, Leon.
I'm going to say
Oh,
this.
Okay.
I found the law where it says terroristic threats. First Amendment does not protect violent or unlawful conduct, even if a person is engaging, intends to express an idea or express, and it does not protect that incites imminent threat of violence or lawlessness. You cannot incite threat or violence. That's called
I
a
know.
terroristic threat, and it's not
Right,
protected.
but it doesn't
under
meet.
the First
Okay, but
Amendment.
what I was talking about, okay, and it has been tried in multiple court cases, does not meet the bar, the legal bar of an imminent threat. To say it would be better if none of these people were in our country, or it would be better if none of these people existed, does not meet the legal bar of being considered an imminent threat. Therefore, it is not a terroristic.
Well, you believe in. I don't want to get stuck in the law conversation because law. Who cares? It's
Yeah,
what we're
I know.
talking. I think the principles things is what matter. The fundamental philosophical basing of it. So, I'm just not sure what is the law or what is the thing that you want to. I know. What is the thing that you want to happen when you see people who have this speech that you think is really bad and possibly bad to where it doesn't meet the legal definition, but society or something should happen to these people? What should happen? What should be
Yeah,
done?
I think it's happening in a lot of circles, right? And there's always going to be missteps and there's always going to be oversteps, right? There is with the legal system, there is with any kind of social system. People are treated unfairly, right? It does happen. However, I do think that the approach that platforms like Nexus Mods, to bring us back onto topic, right, have, which is just, hey, this is our space. We want this space to be a welcoming space for LGBT people. Therefore, we're not going to allow the kind of speech that would make it an unwelcoming space for them and maybe drive some of those people away. We're not going to allow that kind of speech. I think that that's perfectly fine and good and probably a very decent way to go about things. And I think if people did that in their own friendship groups, in their communities, where they're like, hey, man, Carl's got a fucking swastika tattoo. Maybe we don't hang around with Carl anymore, right? Like, that's a real good way of doing things.
Yeah,
okay?
sure, I agree. I don't, if I was friends with somebody who was like a Nazi, I probably wouldn't be friends with them anymore. So
Yeah,
no, I get it.
Exactly. right?
But yeah,
and
but
we
no,
do that
I'm
on,
kidding.
on an individual scale, and we do that on a societal scale. And I think that there's actually nothing wrong with that. And I think that this pushback on quote unquote cancel culture is the realization that actually cultural norms have shifted to a certain degree, where certain groups that maybe were not considered to deserve the same kind of rights and freedoms and ability to appear in public as everybody else now do kind of have that visibility and that right to express themselves and partake in society. And that makes other people fucking upset because they believe they shouldn't have that right. But the balance of power has shifted to the point where society is saying, hey, we actually do think that they should have that right. And we think that you trying to make them not have that right is a bad thing. So they're losing some power in that regard. And it makes them very, very upset. But I think that that's a good thing, because I think that we should try and make it so that the maximum amount of people, not everybody, it's not an absolutist position because absolutism is silly. You have to balance freedoms, right? But that the maximum amount of people are able to participate in society to the fullest possible extent, and those that would seek for them not to be able to should have that ability restricted, right?
Can I get my 2 cents on this? So I guess, okay, you can say no, but like no, I'm kidding. No, I guess the thing is that, like, for me, when it comes to something like I guess, since we were sort of talking about countries before, and I don't really want to go to the country, but for example, right? Oh my god, sorry, I just got distracted by a silly comment in chat. But like, for example, right?
Loads of silly comments in chat. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, shush. No, it's like for example, if you see, because I know we're talking about the First Amendment, the free speech thing, and we always look at it in a way that is bad. Like, for example, we allow Nazis to be platformed. We allow, for example, Nazis can get permission from the city to have a rally, to have, a march, to have a whatever, and the KKK can hold legal rallies and whatever like that, right? At the same time, I think we should also appreciate, the rights that are afforded to us, which could also, in another context, could also be denied, right? For example, pornography, forms of, I don't want to say it, but also I'll say it too. Hentai, right? Dojin and stuff like that. Like, I can only think of
Hey, some of
pornography.
that
I'm
shit,
so
some
sorry.
of that shit should be
I am a
fucking done.
gooner. I'm so sorry. I'm a gooner. But also at the same time, just like LGBT related things, and you can argue that, oh my god, how is gay marriage going for you in the U.S. and whatever like that, right? But at the same time, you can say like the most wackiest of wacky shit in the U.S. Without getting without fear of getting prosecuted by the government, less of things of saying something along the lines of, I'm literally about to go out here and kill somebody, and here are the plans in which I'm literally about to do that. You can say something along the lines of, oh, I'm gonna kill somebody and still be fine, unless you actually have detailed plans on it, right? But I guess this is one of the things, is that if you have something along the lines of something like this, you have to accept both the negative and positive consequences of it. And I guess this is what principally divides us. You know what I mean?
And on
Well,
the
I
other
mean,
side,
the thing
if I
is,
may,
do the positives outweigh the negatives? And are the positives actually, like, could we actually get more of the positives with slightly more restriction in some other area, right? Do you know any famous trans journalists? Here in the UK, I fucking don't. Like, there are no trans journalists in the mainstream media.
well, you're like
right?
less than 1% of the
question
population,
is,
though. Like,
yeah, that is very true.
we're white Canadian.
But do you know what? There are more of us than there are ginger people, and I know several fucking ginger journalists. All right. So, the point that I'm making is, has the social environment that we've created allowed those marginalized groups to exercise the freedoms that they are legally afforded to the fullest ability, or to the same degree that other groups can? Are we, in fact, through this permissibility, allowing Nazis more freedom than we actually allow the marginalized groups that they target?
no, look. So I want to address this. I do want to. I'll let you go next.
They're gonna have a 1v1 later. They can wait.
So
Sure.
So when it comes to freedom of speech, though, like the Nazis have the right to get their permit to do their protest, but then like what do they do when the police come out, right? And then you also have probably we have seen right counter demonstrations, and that's good too.
Mhm.
People expressing their opinion in the opposite way and be like, no, we don't want this stuff here, and you have the police keeping the group separate. You make sure that there's not violence, and like that's how we do things in this country.
I mean,
And
that's not what
Look,
happens.
there's a
though. I
problem
mean,
with that.
if we
Please,
analyze,
Viv, can I have one in?
fuck.
You're so good. You're carrying me, but I want to.
Just this one. Okay, I'll shut up after this. All right. If you analyze those protests and the way policing works around those protests, it is always aggressively towards the counter protesters. Right. If you take a you can see it in pictures. It is police facing away from the Nazis towards the counter protesters, right? Arrests, police violence and brutality, etc. All these statistics weigh in favor of essentially protecting the Nazis and assaulting the counter protesters.
well, and you want these same racist cops to arrest the Nazis though.
Sorry, what was
You
that?
want the same cops who you think are like Nazi sympathetic. You want those cops to be the ones to enforce the anti-free speech stuff though.
I don't want police enforcing it at all. I just recognize that we currently live in a system where there are certain laws, and certainly the police would have to enforce it some of the time, even if begrudgingly. And I don't think that all cops are racists and Nazis. That's another thing.
I never said all, but you
never
think that they're Nazi sympathetic as a general matter at these protests?
At these protests, I think that the way they end up functioning ends up being Nazi sympathetic. In some cases, such as in Portland, where Joe Gibson of the Proud Boys, recently sentenced to well over a decade in prison, yeehaw, he was passing notes to the chief of police. They were coordinating on how to corral and arrest anti-fascist counter-protesters, right? So there are examples of them working hand in hand in order to do this. But I think that functionally, the way that like the whole system works in terms of like the freedom of speech thing is that when a neo-Nazi group gets a permit to go and speak at a place and counter demonstrators turn up, the police are told that they are there essentially to protect the free speech, and so the neo-Nazis are the ones who are seen as exercising their free speech, whereas the counter-protesters are framed as those who are trying to stop the free speech rather than those who are exercising their free speech in opposition to the Nazis. Do you see what I mean? And so you don't necessarily have to be a Nazi sympathizer as a police officer to be more aggressive towards the counter-protesting side. It's just a function of how those protests work and how the entire conversation around free speech is set up in the United States.
I did say food shops can go, so.
Well, now, well, guess what? Now I forgot the point I was gonna make. You just go.
Where are your notes? Where are your notes?
Let me go. So I want to point out here that we don't always also need to rely on the cops, but I'm pretty sure the people here who are worried about leftist extremism are less worried about the cops. Now, granted, I'm anti-police in general, as like especially philosophically, and so I'd rather see leftists deal with it, but I don't think that most people would recognize that form of action and would probably just disregard it as like terrorism or something.
Yeah, I don't believe in using violence. I don't think that like Antifa going in and beating up protesters who are Nazis. I don't think that's good.
But do you agree with like, let's say in Viv's line of work, she comes across somebody who says like, I'm gonna like bomb this mosque tomorrow, right? Like you agree that she should tell the police or somebody
sure.
who can just, right? So like there's no disagreement there. This whole thing was originally a pushback on the idea that the cops are like there to protect free speech and like protect both sides or anything like that.
I don't know if I'd say that they're there to protect free speech necessarily.
This whole like they're gonna be like the white supremacists are gonna be regulated by the police doesn't pan out in reality.
I mean, real life's pretty fucking awesome in America, right? Like we have freedom of speech. We're a very
No,
diverse
Jackie, don't
country.
make the
We
argument.
have no. We're a very
Jackie,
successful society. We are literally the most powerful, greatest country on earth in terms of the economy.
Have you ever
in
encountered
terms of
somebody,
our
though?
state
Not
capacity.
anymore.
Right, I hear where you're going with this, though. Have you ever encountered somebody who tells you that like that does not match the black experience?
Well, and then obviously we should improve that and try to do better in that area. I agree.
Food pill, remember?
It
Food pill.
really depends. It really depends
it's
on
like,
what
we're talking
opinion-
about-
Wait, no. It really depends on what opinions you have, right? If your opinions are leftist, if they're environmentalist, if they're pro black or whatever, then actually no. You do not have the same level of freedom of speech as somebody who is far right. You just don't, because the police are much more likely to attack you and arrest you.
Well, I'm not going to get
Yeah,
into a
sure.
policing conversation here.
Well, it's not a
Because you
policing
live.
conversation. It's that you made
Well,
a
it's already
statement
too
that we have-
late. You guys
Yeah.
already launched into a policing conversation, right? At this point, you're already far into it.
No, but where are the we have free speech in America now? Where are the hordes of like neo-Nazis descending on towns and like terrorizing black people?
Oh,
Charlottesville?
Portland, Charlottesville.
So you've got like one example of a city where like one person
Sorry, that was
died like
legitimate
5
attempt.
years ago, like
That
5
was-
years
they were
ago or
legitimate
7 years ago.
attempt.
That was two at the beginning of a list that you interrupted me two items into. Okay, you
And like,
can't.
let's not negate they were legitimate attempts by Nazis to congregate power and show force that was like intimidating to their enemies. Like,
Yeah,
this
and
is
I
not just-
criticized
no small deal.
that at the time, and I criticized Trump's response to it too. I could even link
It was also deadly.
Yeah, like one person died. So like we're gonna get rid of freedom of speech
Oh.
because one person died. Oh my God.
Well,
We're gonna get away our fundamental freedom that this country
Hang on a
has. That we're gonna give it
You
away.
don't have it. You don't have it. You don't have it. We've already established that freedom of speech is not absolutist. There are things that you can be arrested for. if
We
you
don't
say
discriminate
them.
based on viewpoint, though. We
Right.
don't discriminate based on
Yes,
views.
you do, though. Yes, you do.
yes, you
though.
do.
In practice, you do. Right? Like legally, you may not, but in practice, you do. The way these laws are enforced is not equal. Right?
Disproportionate.
And as for Charlottesville, it was not just one person. It was not just one person dying. Like there were a number of people who were maimed. There were many more who were assaulted.
Okay, and I think that's
Like,
bad, but I don't
some-
think that means we get rid of freedom. Also, if you drive these movements
No, you still have
underground,
freedom.
if you
like, this is
no,
what you're forgetting.
no.
You still have freedoms. Like you have many other rights. You have many other freedoms. You just
No,
don't get to
no,
do
we lose the
these
First Amendment, you lose
particularly harmful
everything else.
actions. You just don't. No, you
I
don't.
mean, that's just
it's not a
that's
slippery
just
slope.
not true. I mean, I can live in the UK here, right, where we don't have the First Amendment, and I can criticize my government, right? I can say all kinds of insane shit. I'm probably more able to say some leftist things than you could in America, frankly.
They're not
right?
even armed to oppose their own government. But
Yeah,
you
and we
can
don't even have
criticize
fun.
it.
So,
But
so
in other
don't
countries, you
lose ever.
can go to prison for criticizing the government in certain ways.
In some countries you can, yeah, but the idea that the First Amendment is the only thing stopping that from
Freedom of
happening
speech as a
is
principle,
rubbish
not necessarily the
because
First
America-
Amendment broadly.
Okay,
First Amendment only
fine,
applies to
but
the US.
we have freedom of speech as a principle. So
They're
do
in
most
Canada, too.
countries in Europe, and they're in Canada. There you go.
Except,
we have free speech
except
as
you're
a
arresting
principle.
people for
We
treating.
just interpret it differently because we want to maximize free speech. We want as many people as possible to participate as fully as possible in the public conversation. We don't just say, oh well, everybody can say whatever they like, and it doesn't matter if what some people say infringes upon the ability of other people to say things.
In the United States, you have the right to speak freely, and where is the negative? Where's the negative with
You
this?
have the
You have
right, but do
you
you
have
have
like
the
one
ability?
person who died in Charlottesville and a couple people got injured. Okay, like literally, like a thing from 10 years ago or 8 years ago. Like this is the
You have
example that you.
protesters who are followed home after protest.
Charlottesville
You
was
have them
2017.
You have you have their employers being called, and these are largely leftist people. You have all sorts of ways that they socially engineer the police socially engineer results that ruin these people's lives.
And then
You know
people on the
those- you know
left
those-
do that all the time too. We're not.
What you do?
People on the left dox people all the time. Try to destroy their
Yeah,
lives and
okay.
get them fired and make sure that they lose any ability to make any income.
But you
Yeah,
literally
very
also
true.
agree that Viv should get people like arrested if they're going to do something.
If they're going to
bad,
do something
right?
violent, right? But here, so
But
Viv,
this is what you're
are we
getting
talking
mad
past
about.
each
You're
other?
getting mad
Are
about-
you? Do you think that do you think that people, if you have a Nazi who is holding a sign peacefully, and they got all the permits and all that shit, do you think that they should be arrested?
Do I think they should be arrested? I think they should be moved on. I don't like the idea of state power and state control over these things, right? Personally, I prefer, as an anti-fascist, the community organizing fashion of getting a whole bunch of people to go out there and go, hey, fuck off, mate. You're not welcome here. We don't like you. We don't like what you have to say. Nobody wants to fucking hear it. Piss off, right? I like that kind of action. I think that's pretty fucking great. This is what I talked about earlier with the whole Nexus Mods situation. Like, I didn't argue for state intervention in the Nexus Mods situation, did I? I said, I think Nexus Mods are doing this socially and culturally responsible thing, right? It requires no state intervention whatsoever. It requires people being decent.
But you do support violence, though, right? You do support not the state being violent, but you support individuals being violent against the protesters.
I support proportionate levels of violence, and that means using using the minimal amount of violence necessary to get the desired result, right?
And let's
it
be
also
clear.
it also depends how you define violence, right? I would say that doxing is a form of political violence, right, as well. So I'm also including that in my equation of like all of this stuff, right? Getting somebody fired from their job is probably a form of like economic violence, right? So if you as a group go out there and say, hey mate, fuck off, right? And he just stands there, then maybe you're entitled to like walk towards him, right? Maybe you're entitled to like push him away a little bit gently, okay? If he starts getting uppity and starts trying to punch you, maybe you're entitled to punch him. But proportionate violence, right? And
Well, it sounds like you're instigating it then if you're pushing him.
Well, no, he's instigated it by walking into your neighborhood and saying and holding up a sign that basically says, "I want to kill all Jewish people, all black people, all gay people. I want to eugenicize the disabled or whatever." Right? Like the things that the swastika stands for.
So
he's initiated that.
So Vivian, this is probably where we will disagree, but I just don't agree with the initial pushing part because I understand.
Have this with me though, Foodshops, because again, I'm not going to be like talking with you guys later.
Wait, no, but that doesn't mean you can shut down like my discussion. Like
you can say it, but
channel.
I just want to respond. So say
okay,
it to me.
Okay, fine.
You're on my side, Broadly. What the fuck do you have to respond to? Let Foodshops go. They're losing their fucking mind.
Okay, hold on. I've been quiet this entire time. Okay,
Sorry,
okay.
Viv, I'm not bitter, but I do want to like stake my claim while this panel's still on.
Okay, and then also, I want to give everybody a chance to talk too, because I know Leon and Appa haven't said anything in a while.
I'm here listening. If there's something that I want to say, I'll say it. But I'm here just listening for now. I
do love the back and forth you've had with Tachyon, Viv. It's just if you're gonna be talking to Foodshops later.
About this bit more with Foodshops. I think we're close enough, but also opposite enough that there's like there's a good discussion to be had there that doesn't have to be like savage and nasty towards each other.
I think we've been pretty civil, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if I come across aggressive or whatever,
fascist.
People do say I come across aggressive.
I'm passionate, but I wouldn't say I'm aggressive. I'm just very passionate.
I'm just passionate and I swear a lot. And people take that as aggression. You'll know if I'm aggressive because I'll call you a stupid dumb fuck or something.
Okay, what are you struggling with?
I am struggling. Yeah. So I guess the part that I disagree with Vivian on is specifically the part of the optics of the initial push, right? For example, I know that the initialization of the Nazis marching into the town looks extremely bad. And if they have the free speech to do so, it is their prerogative to do so. And if they look bad while doing it, then in my opinion, it is their freedom also to make that stupid decision to march into town.
It's not just about optics.
What if it's a bar? What if it's a pub?
It's a pub? Sorry. A pub?
A bar. Yeah. What if it's just what if they go into a local bar instead and stand there and do it?
Do they have permission to do so?
From
the bar owner?
No.
Then they're not allowed in, right? They have to have permission from the bar owner.
Okay, but if there's a Nazi walking into your community and there's a large group of people that want them to get out and they're willing to go out and tell them to leave, do they have permission from the community?
The thing is, they have to have permission from the city council, right?
Right,
The
but
the legal city, yeah, the city permit, right? For
Right.
like a
and who
holding,
and who should the city be representing?
the people.
Right. And so if the people don't consent, should the city have given that position?
Well,
that permission?
they're obligated to follow the First Amendment.
Oh my God, we're having.
No,
Okay,
you're
I'm
gonna,
sorry.
You're gonna be having this off the panel anyways.
True.
I had answers.
You have a whole second conversation after this
Viv's
one
answers were
went together.
great. Viv's answers were great. I'm not gonna lie.
But
Okay.
you
I mean, I might
don't
reserve
they
it for another
Vivian
part
and
of-
I,
hey,
Vivian and I are just
so-
on a whole
Viv,
nother level.
I need
of-
to make this
I'm
agreement with
kidding.
you, Viv. Can I please respond to food?
Okay,
Yeah,
go
sure,
ahead.
go ahead.
I mean, I need her to respond to what Viv said at this point because Viv did like, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh
said
my
like
god.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Or okay, Tack, go ahead then. Whatever.
Okay,
Let's go. Let's go, Tack. You me.
You can make
me,
your
Tack.
point. You can make your point.
Oh my god.
I think they should go do their 1v1 now, and then I can like
What? No, no.
I can roll Tack.
No,
Okay,
I'm gonna book this. I'm gonna book.
I
this
want to roll
in-
Tack 1v1 on this.
Isn't
Okay.
it like
All right.
2 a.m. over there
So
in the UK?
you said,
Sorry.
hang
No,
on.
it's like,
I'm
Oh,
gonna
for
book
Viv,
this
yeah.
for,
You
for
said-
another day with a larger audience. It'll be fun.
You
Thank
said
Yeah.
you said that the city has an obligation to the people. And I think that's true. They do have an obligation to the people, but part of that obligation too is upholding the social contract of the society. And the social contract of the society is governed by the United States Constitution. It's governed by the state constitution. It's governed by whatever their town charter is, okay? So they have an obligation as part of the community, as part of the city, as the city, they have an obligation to uphold the principle of freedom of speech, because it's part of the social contract that we've agreed to as a society, and it's part of our law and our moral framework in this country.
Okay, sure. And they can argue that they are upholding that because they're upholding the right to freedom of speech and the right to not have like a shitload of Nazis in their town suppressing the freedom of speech of everybody around them. They can
okay.
very much argue that. The
You
problem with
become
the
the very thing
Constitution,
you
the
wanted to
problem with
destroy,
the
by what
the
you're
problem with
saying.
no, you don't become a Nazi by saying "fuck off Nazis." Okay. Anyway,
You know? You
um,
become a fascist.
no, you don't become a fascist. A fascist is an ultra-nationalist authoritarian who's fucking well into purifying the bulk of undesirable traits based on fucking internal characteristics, right? Immutable characteristics. Anyway, very different thing. All right. Fuck, you've thrown me off now. Shit. What was the last thing you said, Tacky?
That the city has an obligation to the people, and that includes the social
Yeah.
contract.
I got you. So the great thing about the Constitution, and the thing that's really, really frustrating for a lot of people in the United States, is that one, it can be amended, and probably should be amended again, not necessarily around the principle of free speech, but definitely around the 13th Amendment, which enshrines the right to keep slaves basically in federal prisons. But so we can't view this as this godly document that should be adhered to at all times. It's got some pretty immoral shit in it right now, right? And it can be amended. In fact, has been amended multiple fucking times, right? At least 13, 14, 15, 16? How many fucking amendments are there? I can't remember. I'm not American. Anyway,
There's over
right?
20.
So
Isn't there over 20?
it's subject to both interpretation and amendment. And your interpretation of free speech might not be somebody else's interpretation of free speech, right? And we also have to consider the balance, as I've mentioned several times, of this right.
Okay.
Does allowing certain people the right to say something infringe upon the right of other people to say another thing?
I think part of this might be because
There are 27, by the way. I looked at
Oh
that.
my god.
So-
Yeah, okay. Cool.
So I think part of this might be because like I'm an American and I accent I guess Australian. But
What, me?
none of my
No,
business.
I'm
I'm not gonna.
no,
it's
I'm
none
a
of my
Brit.
business.
I'm a Brit. I'm a
Oh,
bonger.
Oh, Brett. I'm
I'm from
sorry.
the
Okay.
United Kingdom. Yeah.
But in America, though, like yes, we can amend the Constitution, and yes, it is subject to interpretation to an extent. But we vary our legal system places a huge amount of emphasis on like case law and precedent. And those can be
Agreed.
overturned sometimes. But like in the United States, the case law and precedent and general political culture towards freedom of speech is very, 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 very strong. Like it's not something
Right.
that even like
I
most
agree.
liberals and most conservatives think that we need to like walk back to a
I'm
serious
I
extent.
believe it or not, I'm incredibly pro freedom of speech, right? I just have a different interpretation of it than
Yeah,
you do.
and I'm really glad.
I think that you're seeing. I think that you're seeing. The reason we're having this conversation right now is that what you're talking about with like, there's a very strong public opinion around freedom of speech, right? Is that actually, although there is a very strong public opinion in support of freedom of speech, is that actually there is a significant portion of the public who are starting to interpret that freedom of speech in a different way than the traditional absolutist anybody can say anything kind of sense, right?
Right, that's true. I mean, there are. I think there are. I'm not super familiar with the data, but I remember seeing. I think younger people today are a little bit more skeptical towards free speech than older generations were. I don't know. Maybe the 1960s, 1950s. Maybe it was different. Maybe back then young people had the same view. I don't know. I haven't seen enough data to really say. But I
Yeah.
don't think that like just because like we have like
Back
people
then
in the
you had Jim
population.
Crow, though, right?
I don't think that the interpretation is based just on like popular thought though. Like it's also based on like precedent and legal
No,
precedents
I
that have been
agree. Yeah,
established.
yeah.
Yeah.
Court cases and so on, right? But like again, you can set future precedents. I think the idea of I I I I like here in the United Kingdom, our constitution is basically a whole bunch of precedents, right? We don't have a formal written constitution. We have a constitutional monarchy that rests upon certain previous court precedents. Believe me, I do not think that that is the best system of government. Fuck the monarchy, okay? Before you come at me about having a queen or whatever. But I also think that like courts can make shitty fucking decisions, right? Um, and quite often we overturn these precedents. Look at Roe versus Wade, for example,
Yeah.
right? Nothing is set in stone, and it seems like your argument seems to function very much on this is how it is, and therefore this is how it should be. And I think if you actually analyze that, there's a lot of things that just shouldn't be as they are right now,
I do
right?
have.
May I please add
Yeah,
in the
and
point? I've been
oh, go ahead.
so patient. So
Oh,
I think that there's an issue here as well with like when there's a social contract, that implies everyone's totally fine with the way things are, especially like in the more kind of like this comes together naturally sense that a lot of people allude to in like the philosophy way. And I think that's only true so long as people aren't protesting. And when you have marginalized groups that you're trying to protect, protesting to say, hey, we don't want this, then I don't think that they're consigning to said social contract because it's allowing them to feel unsafe.
I don't think like most black people in the country are against the First Amendment though, or like want to drastically curtail it.
no, I
I
agree.
think I
They're
think they're
probably not.
against it to the degree that people like there are not every black person is like this, mind you, so I'm not speaking in absolute terms, but there are plenty of black people who would disagree that it or would think that it goes too far if it allows people to use the N-word, for example.
I don't know. But I do want to bring up an anecdote, and this might be an area where we find like some common ground. I know that you don't really believe in the power of the state to do these things. You believe in more individual community action, which is like is
Well, yeah,
more in line
that
with.
is in accordance with the First Amendment as well, because the First Amendment just protects you from government action against certain protected forms
True,
of speech,
true.
right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Though I guess you might run afoul of like assault laws and stuff in some cases.
Oh, yeah, sure. But in terms of like shutting down freedom of speech, in your view, by saying I don't want to have this person play a gig in my bar,
I,
that that is entirely fucking legal generally, right?
but
So
I,
relax.
in regards to
Obviously there's exceptions, right? If you're like, oh, I don't want to do it because they're trans or black or blah blah blah. We talked
yeah,
about
yeah,
protected classes earlier, but broadly, if it's like I don't want to have this person in my bar because they're a known neo-Nazi,
yeah.
there's not going to be any kind of legal repercussion for that, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, but it
Yeah.
seems like every time in America's history, and I'm sure it's probably true for other countries too, but like we have like a long history of excluding people from the dignity and equality of the law, and
Yeah.
like obviously that happened with black people and Native Americans and women and Japanese people during World War II, and
Mhm.
and the Chinese Exclusion Act and stuff. But and it seems like every time that, or even like the leftists, like are you familiar with the Palmer raids?
Yeah, the McCarthyism and all that sort of shit.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
like
Yeah, you can't say you're a communist if you're a university teacher.
oh, it
Yep.
was way worse. The Palmer raids were before. The McCarthyism was the second Red Scare. We had two Red Scares in the U.S.
Yeah.
The first Red Scare was in like the late the 19 teens and 1920s, and they rounded up thousands of people and
Oh yeah,
arrested them
that was
arbitrarily.
back when America was like borderline fascist themselves, and they had Nazi rallies in Washington Square Garden. Yeah.
But what I want to get at though, real quick, is that the powers of society, in this case it was the state, they deemed these people outside of the law, in some cases based on opinions that they have, because they viewed them as extremists, they viewed them as anarchists, they viewed them as socialists, whatever, and and they were denied equality, including the equality of speech. And like this has always been very bad throughout history, and it's allowed the government and society to do really bad things to people. And I don't know if like excluding people who have far right views from the equal protection of the law is going to have any different outcome. I don't think that we should be like.
Well,
Do you think there's any significant difference between the groups that you just mentioned and neo-Nazis? Do you think
Also,
there's any?
may I just ask? Think of all the other ways that they're still protected. Just even if this one thing they don't get to do, you can still uphold all of those protections, and they're still protected by most of the law. Just not the law that sanctions their hate speech.
But I mean, like you could say that, like
I'm not even super worried about hate speech. I just don't think that like, I think that free speech rights have to be balanced, right? And I think that you have, and I
I'm
think
not
that
an
you have to
absolutist
promote.
against hate speech, mind you. Like, if you want to have a documentary that shows what Hitler said, then by all means, like
Yeah.
that helps people understand why it was wrong. It's how we contextualize these things.
But I'm also not sure that like the Nazi thing, the far. So I think far right, right? What does far right mean? You ask like 10 different people, you get 10 different answers. So
Yeah,
I don't
sure,
know
the
if like
left-right
I'm not sure if like
dichotomy is bullshit anyway.
declaring like who's a Nazi? Like some people would
That's
say.
why I very
I
specifically
think
said like
some people would
neo-Nazis,
say.
right?
Bib's the
Right,
person
but
to ask
once
her,
you
she'll know.
once you like establish like, okay, this one group here, everyone else they're fine, but this one group crosses the line, and then like maybe
Okay,
next
let's start
week.
with Nazi. Actually,
Well,
I can start with Nazi.
it's not about identifying groups. It's about identifying particular. So it's basically is fundamentally based for me on the idea of balancing freedom, right? The idea that like you have the freedom to swing your fist as long as it doesn't connect with my face, right? And arguably, I would say probably doesn't come anywhere near my face because that shit's fucking annoying when someone's waving their hands in your face, right?
And it's threatening.
Stay
It's
out of my
intimidating.
stay out of
Like,
my
honestly,
personal
if someone's
space, right?
acting violent around me, I'm gonna want to move
Yeah,
away
yeah,
from
yeah,
them, and
sure.
I'm not gonna feel safe there.
So yeah, and it's about balancing those freedoms, and we have to recognize that like that speech, like we said earlier, can force other people out of spaces, right, and deny them the ability to speak. The and especially minority communities, because they can't bring as many numbers to bear, right? If you have 1,000 Nazis walking through a Jewish neighborhood of like 20 families, right, it's going to be they physically cannot bring the same numbers to bear as that group of fucking Nazis, right? So they do not have the same platform, the same free speech rights in that situation. Even if it's afforded to them by the Constitution, they are situationally unable to exercise those rights, right?
Right, but like if we got to a point where like these groups were doing that, I don't. I'm pretty sure we could look to other countries for examples that where what they would do is like they would have implement like anti-paramilitary procedures and protocols, right? And make sure that these paramilitary groups.
We talked a lot about the First Amendment. You got the Second Amendment over there as well. It's going to be very difficult to, like, especially in Republican states, stop people from being able to carry.
Wait a second.
Uh-huh.
No matter
I'm not
what,
coming at
I
the
live
Second
in one
Amendment.
of the
I'm a big
biggest
fan. I love
gun-
guns.
I live in
I
one of
know.
the biggest gun states in the U.S. And you know what?
Uh-huh.
We have the lowest shooting deaths where I live. So it's
Okay.
not
State
that.
is that.
There's more to go.
I don't
Well,
know
we're-
who you think. I don't know who you think you're arguing against.
It can be me.
I'm
You can argue me 1v1 on this if you ever want to.
I'm pro Second Amendment, but I don't want to
I'm
get
looking
into
for people who will debate me on this. Let's go. Let's go.
But is the Second Amendment even like a roadblock to that necessarily? Because like, can't you just have you could tailor the laws in ways that don't go against the Second Amendment or the court's interpretation of the Second Amendment, right? You could make it
Yeah,
so like if you're carrying
absolutely.
weapons, if you're carrying weapons in public in a threatening way, or
So
even
now
just public
you're-
in general,
Are
So
we going to
now-
be moving up all the amendments here?
So
Like
now
next
you
will be
are-
Third Amendment, then the Fourth Amendment.
So now you are making, and
It'll
this
take a
is why
while.
I mentioned the Second Amendment, because I thought this would happen, because I'm very, very clever. Look at me. I have big
no, I know
brain.
what you're doing. I saw it.
Now you're making the exact same arguments in support of changes and amendments to the Second Amendment that I was making to changes, amendments, interpretations of the First Amendment, right? Like, obviously these things can fucking change.
Yeah,
Obviously
they
they can. Yeah.
But I thought you were going to go a different direction with that. I thought what you were going to say is that, see, amendments aren't absolute. Freedom of speech is not absolute either. That's what I thought you would have said. But I.
Oh, I thought I established that fucking ages
Yeah,
ago.
and I agree with that.
didn't
I
see a
agree.
need to
Not
repeat
every,
myself.
there are obviously restrictions on freedom of speech in the United States. But I don't think they should be viewpoint based at all. And I think we kind of agree there on the legal aspect of it. So. We don't
I
have to
mean, they
rehash
are
that, Grant.
viewpoint based.
Yeah, in practice, this is what
Yeah.
we originally said, is that in practice they end up being biased against the left.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I just haven't like seen that enough. Like, I'd love to see like more examples. I mean, not like see more examples happen in the world, but like see more
Yeah.
like evidence.
But like, bear in mind, this is why leftists think of this as a fight and not just like, oh, how can like, and I'm talking.
It's because
hard
when we go out and protest, the police assault us. Like when we go out and peacefully protest, the police assault us. A significant amount of the violence that was caused during the Black Lives Matter protests a couple of years ago was police just fucking charging peaceful protesters, firing tear gas grenades into people's fucking faces as they're holding boombox. Actually, I think there was a rubber bullet that time, but like it's disgusting, and you do not see that happen with right wing protests. It just doesn't.
One thing that I find interesting too, and is that everyone came away from like the George Floyd thing, the protests, the summer of 2020, and I guess maybe 2021. I don't remember if it went that far to 2021, but everyone looks at like the right wing looks at this and they're like, wow, the cops didn't do anything. Look at that. And like the left looks at it, they're like, the cops were like overly aggressive. And like you could even find evidence like in both cases of like some police departments, didn't do anything at all or did very little. Some police departments were super aggressive. Like I saw some of the same videos you did at the time.
I'm not gonna sit here and say that absolutely every police force engaged in this kind of behavior, right?
Oh,
there
no,
were
I'm not-
absolutely
yeah,
some police forces that sat back. Usually the police forces that sat back after an initial period of violence, by the way, right? The sequence of events was typically peaceful protest, police assault, everything gets really out of hand, and the police officers step back and go, whoa, this is too much for us, we don't want to deal with it now, and just let the fire burn, right? That happened in a lot of cases. There were cases where the police just stepped back and let it happen just in general, right? But overwhelmingly, I would say that and I think we have the evidence to suggest that as well. Like you said, you saw some of the videos and so on. I would ask, if you've seen some of the videos of left-wing protesters protesting peacefully and being assaulted by police, I'd ask, have you seen any of that towards right-wing protesters at all?
No, I don't think
Ever?
so. Though I don't know if
I may have seen one incident, but it's very, very, it's extraordinarily rare, and so it's very much weighted against left-wing protesters because there is a hostility from the police towards people they perceive as being too left-wing, because people who are left-wing tend to be anti-police. ACAB is something that's been used by neo-Nazis and the far left, by the way. But broadly, the right-wing movement in the United States currently at least purports to be pro-police until the police try to stop them getting into the Capitol, right?
Yeah.
So there is a kind of cultural camaraderie there, and also a kind of cultural antagonism with left-wing movements that I think causes police, even police who aren't like white supremacists or sympathetic to neo-Nazis or whatever, to act in more aggressive fashion towards leftist protesters. So these things just they don't work. They aren't meted out in practice to an equal extent. We don't have the same rights as left-wing protesters as right-wing protesters do.
Well,
Like,
actually,
on
wait.
paper we have the right, but we can't exercise it in the same fashion.
I mean, the right
Oh,
wing
wait,
people that would they
hold
would
on,
probably
hold on.
point to a lot of the heavy-handed stuff from the government during COVID and the way that some people were treated there. Like, and I think it was like my city actually. They
Mhm.
had like created like a list of people who, or no, actually that was something else. But like
Right.
people were like doctors had their licenses revoked because they didn't give out equal, no, or I don't know if they had their licenses revoked, but they faced some sort of penalty. I looked into this a long ass time ago. If they didn't meet like the diversity quotas, even if they for their vaccinations, and like doctors were
I
punished, businesses were shut down.
I have no idea about the diversity quota. I do know that the black community was hit harder by COVID than the white community
It was one
in
instance. It
most
was not a
places.
major. I
Yeah.
don't think that it was like a major thing, but
But
it was one instance of a
the
doctor
thing
actually
is,
doing it at a
there was
local
some
level.
insane shit that happened during the pandemic. Absolutely, at any point that there is a shift in political power and just how much power you give the government, there are going to be instances in which the government like definitely overreaches. Like that happens with any kind of shift in power, but that doesn't mean that we should accept the status quo and not try to push for things that give us more freedom and more security.
So, do you think that like if the right wing protesters, if we, I don't, if we saw right wing protests across the country at the same scale, um, as the 2020 George Floyd protests, and also with some elements of violence, which did happen in the George Floyd protests too, but also would happen in this
Mhm,
hypothetical right wing nationwide protest. Do you think
mhm.
that they would be treated by the police in the same way or no?
I think initially they wouldn't be. I think as violence escalates, they would end up being treated in a similar fashion. Although it's difficult to say. I think what we can say is we can look at microcosms where this has happened, right? We can look at the Battle of Portland. We can look at we can look at Charlottesville. I know you said that was 6 years ago, but I don't think that 6 years ago is so long that like police attitudes would have changed to a significant degree. And we can see what happens in those instances with left-wing protesters and right-wing protesters and who gets policed more and so on. I think you would see more leniency towards the right-wing protesters. Certainly, if they started as assaulting police and burning down shops and all that sort of stuff, the response would become more aggressive over time. But initially, I think yeah, they would be treated with much more lenience.
Yeah, you might be right.
I think that's
I don't know.
in fact, sorry, I hate talking too much, but I think demonstrably that's one of the things that happened with January the 6th as well, because there was a previous protest at the Capitol was it Black Lives Matter? I think it was, right? And you can see the comparisons with the kind of police force that was assembled in preparation for these different protests, right? You've got fucking full-on SWAT armored motherfuckers standing in rows on the steps of the Capitol, awaiting this Black Lives Matter protest. Whereas for January 6th, like they were completely unprepared. And I think that has to do with a multitude of factors. One, they are just not aware of the level of violence that right-wing extremists are capable of because they're not because the DOJ and counterterrorism responses in the United States have largely been focused towards left-wing activists for quite a few years, up until the Biden administration started turning that around post January 6th.
I,
So they it's not necessarily sympathy, right? But there's a lot of factors that go into it. Yeah.
Well, wasn't there something really crazy that Trump said actually, um, about the Black Lives Matter protesters who were in front of the White House? They didn't. Oh, he ordered the National Guard or the police or something to clear them out so he can like get a photo op. Like it's some insane thing. Like he used
Yeah, that did
violence against.
happen.
Like that's insane. Like he
Yeah.
probably should have been impeached for that. I remember being so upset about it at the time, but like there were so many other shitty things that
Yeah,
he
he
did.
held a Bible up
That
upside down,
yeah,
and Yeah.
There were so
And
many other
did a little-
shitty things that he did that
little,
like I kind of like forgot about
Yeah, I
this
mean,
one.
Trump's an authoritarian monster, but we're
Yeah.
not talking about. I like as much as we can, as much as I could shit on Trump all fucking day. We're talking about the like policing and the systematic implementation of rights to freedom of speech and freedom of protest in the United States and how they play out on the ground, right? So regardless of whether Trump was president or not.
Oh no,
we've
no,
seen-
I'm not making
we've
that
seen
point.
this for decades.
It was
yeah.
an unrelated tangent because like
Yeah, no worries. Sorry,
Yeah.
guys.
no, I'm not saying that they roughed him up because of Trump. I mean, I think they did in that specific instance, but
yeah, yeah.
but like
I
you're
mean,
talking about the
definitely because
broader.
of Trump in other instances during the BLM protests, people were just being fucking kidnapped off the street in unmarked vans and fucking disappeared for hours at a time. Nobody knew where the fuck they went, right?
Yeah,
And
no,
that
I
was
saw that,
that was
yeah.
federal police doing that shit. Yeah, and that was partially on Trump's orders, but it's been happening for a long fucking time to left wing protesters that they just get scooped up in an unmarked van and taken
Well,
off.
I'm not sure we really disagree here. I mean, it's just on this specific point.
Taki, I do want to say one thing. I'm sure that this conversation is gonna be a little bit longer than I expected, but I feel like we need to move on to different
Yeah,
topic
let's talk about
entirely,
some
if you can.
gaming shit.
Oh yeah, that's right. We did promise
Yeah.
some light items.
Yeah.
items. Okay.
Yeah.
What?
I'm sorry.
Nobody has
Sometimes
any.
I get.
Since we are moving on, and sorry to. I never did say how long this was going to take. I think I said like 2 to 3 hours probably, but I didn't tell everybody that. So, anyone have any final thoughts, real quick, on the police conversation or the Nexus Mods conversation? We got a little bit of field there.
I feel bad because
Yeah, Taki, I want to confront you. All right,
Yeah.
what the fuck? You dragged me on this panel to have a fucking discussion. I can't have a discussion anymore. Whenever I talk, I'm being
you already
shamed
have
into submission.
Oh, what?
Yeah,
Okay, go
'cause
ahead.
I'm stronger than you, Foodshops.
Oh, that's right. Go ahead. Make your points, Foodshops. Before.
No, I
yeah,
never.
yeah.
Just make
every
them
single time
after
I
the
speak up,
panel.
I'm
It's so
shamed.
easy.
You brought it up like
what,
20
on my
minutes
own
ago.
stream?
You brought it
Oh my
like
God.
20 minutes ago.
The
so-
last time you wanted a chance to speak, we were like, okay, and you were like,
We were
well,
talking
I've
about free
forgotten it now.
speech, but there's no free speech.
I have a point that's about the topic.
Shut up, Ninetails. Let Foodshops
What
say. What did you want to
the fuck?
say?
I've been
No,
shutting
too
up for
late.
a
We're
long
past
We
ass
gave
it.
you
We're
a
past it.
Foodshops, we
You're
gave
the
you a
last
chance.
You know
person who
what?
can tell me
I'm
to shut up
saving up.
here.
I'm saving up all these bullets for
9
you,
times out of
Vivian. I'm
10,
saving
they
up
would
all
be
these
the
bullets
only
for you,
person who
Vivian.
can tell me to shut up, but right now it's the opposite. I just
Oh
want
my
to point
God.
out the reason that like I as a leftist do not want police involved in like protests and to actually like push back on leftists is because like the more we study these things, especially like past occurrences, we see how their tactics like attempts to kettle, pushing people away from where they want to protest, intervening with stuff, also putting false flag operators in there, all contributes to the general distrust of the police, and therefore any attempts that they do make to have like a civil like redirection of the public to somewhere where they can protest better is rightfully skeptical. In Baltimore and Portland and so many places, you hear about how like these people have had interactions with the police where they'll never trust them again. And I think it's silly for a lot of us to assume like, oh, well, they should just do what the police said. I think in a lot of cases, if people were allowed to actually peacefully protest where they're like at the source of their anger, whether these be companies or government bodies, so long as it's not disruptive, then we wouldn't have people who are so angry that they're ready to riot after like the 10th time it happens. We have to realize that BLM happened because of the straw that broke the camel's back. A lot of the groups that were backing that movement, they had tried to like get voted in, they had tried to get legal recourse, and the system constantly let them down until their anger as a community finally peaked. And that was their voice as a community. So as much as there were bad actors, as much as like rioting wasn't maybe the ideal thing, we've got to listen to that voice.
How you feeling, Foodshops?
I'm feeling perfectly fine, thank you.
Okay, good.
I think we should listen to that voice, but we shouldn't listen to the unhinged sides of that voice. Okay, that's it.
Like food
Thank you.
shops.
What? I'm not even okay. All right, thank you. Yes,
I'm just
sure.
kidding. I love you. You know I love you, so I'm just kidding.
All right, thank you.
Well,
I
Foodshops,
love
do you
too.
feel like you didn't get enough time to talk? You mentioned that.
No, it's okay. I'll have plenty of time to talk
still
when I'm
talk
facing
less than
up against
Foodshop.
Vivian. That's right. Oh yeah.
To be
Okay.
fair, I was carried by Vivian because everything she said was what I was.
Okay,
gonna
because
say.
Don't
I
worry.
know Vivian and I had like
She'll,
a
yeah,
back and
but-
forth.
she'll carry you more when you
I mean,
when you and her channel into a spirit bomb when I face off against her. Okay. All right.
Let's
Okay.
just be clear. You're terrified of a 2v1, but so is.
Wait,
Viv.
are you kidding me? Me, the person who has always been 1v6ing, 1v5ing against other people, like
just
all the
saying.
time.
Hey, we have
I'm just
something in
saying.
common there.
Yeah, there you go.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
like you should at first like maybe interview Viv on her background because like I always find it super
Oh
fascinating.
God!
I know
Stop blowing smoke up my ass, bitch. I am.
No, but
I
you've
am,
done real shit, and it makes us leftists actually look like people who do real shit, and I appreciate that.
I've
that's a
already
long time in the
interviewed.
past.
Wait, hold on. Interviewing Katie wasn't enough.
Katie.
Yeah, that Katie.
I don't know.
Oh, that Katie.
Okay,
I don't
well-
know. I don't know if that's the same.
Yeah, she's all right.
Like, if that's
Are
what
there
you
any
want
topics
your
that we
basis
can
to be.
move
Yeah,
on?
we're
to the next
moving
one?
on to
Sorry.
the gaming
Honestly,
one.
I'm
It's,
surprised we're still going. Like, we have
Yeah, we could probably wrap it up in the next
3 hours.
half hour. Does that work? Or 20 minutes, half hour?
Yeah,
Sure.
let's
Okay.
talk about video games. I want to
I'm
hear
Yeah,
what Foodshops
all right.
thinks about video games.
The topic was about video games. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
I want
I
to.
might
What do
have
you?
to
What do
Taki,
you
I do
think
wanna
about-
ask.
Run.
Yeah.
I do want to ask. Do you have any topics that you want to talk about after this one? Because I do have one question.
Can I give my Starfield review?
Yeah, dude, we can talk after the show, 1,000%. And then, yeah, that'd be cool.
Okay, so
Go ahead.
this is related. This is related to the video game. We're going back to Starfield again once more.
Yes.
And
So nice.
okay, finally. All right. So one thing that I do want to bring up in regards to Starfield is that when I criticize people's overreaction to the whole pronoun thing, I said it shouldn't be a big deal, and then a lot of the counter arguments go something along the lines of, well, it's not that big of a deal, and then somebody said, until basically insert slippery slope argument here, and I do want to know what your thoughts on this one specifically, because I do feel like you're all very, very passionate in terms of your own personal politics and movement and everything like that. I do feel like you're very passionate about it, and I do want to know what are your thoughts on this one, because I do want to listen to what you are saying on this one. So I'm gonna share your screen. What are your thoughts on this?
Oh, give me 1 second. I stepped away. I got a wireless headset. So I was out of the room.
Is that a Stone Toss comment? What
Yes.
the fuck? Nah, bro. Okay, fine. We'll read it.
It's not that big
If
of a
it's too
deal.
big- if
You
it's too
know
small, I can
until
zoom in.
your son comes home missing his twigs and berries. It's not that big of a deal. Until your children have to take a mandatory field trip to a drag queen strip club to pass the semester. It's not that big of a deal until
From
it is.
pronouns in video
So-
games, really?
Mandatory.
From pronouns in video games to this.
I think that's
From
pretty.
pronouns.
Is this in reaction to the Starfield thing? Because I see the picture
Yes.
in the
No,
background.
we don't have
Yes,
surgery
this
for
is in
kids.
reaction to the Starfield
We don't
thing.
we don't have surgery for kids.
Look,
Okay,
man,
we don't have that.
Some of the right wing people are crazy
No,
too.
they mean like coming home for
Or it's a-
Thanksgiving.
or-
Appa, do you
They
believe
mean,
that?
like,
Oh
coming
wait, this is
home
the
from-
Stone
No.
Toss guy, right?
No.
This guy's a
Yeah,
fascist,
No,
right?
I do not believe in this one. I'm
Stone Toss is a legit
highlighting this because
Appa,
this is
Mr.
ridiculous.
59,000 subscriber channel. What-
You're giving Stone Toss a voice. That's kind of sus.
No. This
for-
is not giving Stone Toss a voice. I mean, we're all laughing at it. Okay, all right.
I'm-
Like,
We're all laughing at it. This, for the record, this is a
Clown
slide of
Toss.
I have a stream show where I basically just give this PowerPoint representation of all the dumb text that I saw on Twitter. I just do it every week. I just make fun of it every
I'm
week.
looking at that.
And this is one of the dumb texts that I was about to make fun of in the stream. And I do want to know, what are your thoughts on this one?
yeah, how many
Okay.
bridges are you burning
I
now?
think it's incredibly fucking stupid. They're non-comparable whatsoever. The pronouns in a game is going to lead to fucking. Yeah, no, it's.
I mean, like, is this like you're? I mean, if you really want to stretch it, like, is this gonna lead to actual policy change? Probably not. Like the actual policy changes is probably going to begin at conservatives going to school board meetings, but that's already happening, right? So I mean, it is what it is.
Well, Appa, it's so funny too because you and I know I'll keep this
Mhm.
very brief because it's like a one conversation. But like you and I both came up in like the GG streamer space, and we both had like that super high focus on like creative freedom.
Yes.
And like that was like the
Cringe. I'm kidding.
we were so it's so funny too because like we didn't talk all that often. We only talked like a handful of times. But we were
Yes.
both doing like the same exact stuff with Were you a part of a torrential downpour?
Why
Sort of.
why do you guys name it like this? Why?
Sort of. I guess I support the idea of the torrential downpour movement, but I'm not exactly like a huge advocate on like a huge proponent to it.
Wait, Takian, why don't you have a 59,000 subscriber like YouTube channel like this guy?
I'm
If-
incompetent. I also made no. Actually, well, it's yeah, probably I guess incompetent, but also I will say this though too. Like I didn't even monetize my stuff for like the longest time because
Bro,
I was because I
actually,
was dude,
dumbass.
that's not no. The reason I did it was because I thought I'd feel like selling out, which is incredibly stupid to say. But that's what I thought if I took
Oh.
money for it, people would think I sold out. Like that I wasn't like I didn't actually believe in the cause.
Bro, but now look at Milo Yiannopoulos. Well, I guess now he's sort of washed up. But but the thing is, like, bro, he kind of made bank off of Gamergate, bro, and like, oh my god, and Sargon of Akkad, and like the quartering,
But
and,
also,
and, you know whatever like that. Like you could have made bank, but you didn't.
Well,
Like,
I
you're so
I didn't want to do
stupid.
I didn't want to do like anti-SCW content too. I mean, I did like some like criticize like social justice warrior stuff that was stupid, but like I wanted to focus on gaming and the gaming censorship aspects of it. And
Okay,
ethics of
maybe you
journalism.
were one of the good Gamergators, okay, but I mean, there's no such thing in my opinion. But the thing is, like, I mean, like, what the fuck?
Oh,
Like, okay.
called out half the panel here.
opinion-
What's going
In
on?
my opinion, there's a bro. You've on my stream. Do you know how many hours we've debated Gamergate at this point? Okay, not Gamergate. Okay. I mean, Vivian doesn't know, all right, but like I have, I've interviewed Brianna Wu, but like the thing is, like, oh my.
I've debated Brianna Wu. She's a dumb bitch.
Oh, you know what? It seems like you just it's impossible to have a moderate opinion on Brianna Wu. You either completely love her or you completely hate her. Okay,
Dude,
I
Headband.
hate her. No. I don't hate her. I just think she's a dumb bitch. There's plenty of.
That is hating her. When
No,
you
that's
call
not hating
somebody
her.
a dumb bitch,
That's a
that's
dumb-
hating her. That's
Hey,
literally what it
Foodshops.
means.
Foodshops.
Yeah.
She seems
Yeah.
to hate. She seems to hate Brianna Wu more than I do.
She means.
And I don't even hate her
Almost-
at all.
Wait,
I
you
think-
can
I
yes,
think
you can join
broadly- I
Tachyon's
think-
squad. Yeah.
I don't
think
hate her though.
broadly-
What, dude?
You do. You're okay. Oh, do you know how this entire Brianna Wu thing happened in the first place, guys?
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, I said that I was about to interview Brianna Wu, and then Tachyon it like went full mask off, and he was already my orbiter at the time, right? And then he literally said, yeah, I was actually one of the biggest Gamergators back in the day. And actually, I fucking hate No, I'm just kidding.
I did
never
not
said
say that. Yeah.
He didn't say that. He said that. He said, are you really gonna platform her
I did
and
not say
let
that.
her
You
spread
misrepresented this
misinformation?
twice.
You said that.
No.
You said that.
I
Okay.
did-
All right. You said that. No.
I said,
you
are you gonna let her challenge? I think I might have said something like, are you gonna challenge her on?
And you brought up some Steam community like motherfucking things, yeah, or some shit like that, like some really unhinged ass shit. And then I was like, and then we went over it on stream, and it was like we all debunked your shit like live. Or some
I
shit
don't.
like
I don't
that.
think that's how it went down.
Tachyon, I wasn't gonna bring this up just because it seems like a bit weird to bring up with the old debate. But like, I was sort of sad that you didn't have a video of people like black women and trans people being like, I don't support the pronouns in in this game.
Wait, guys,
my
I
God.
forgot to tell you guys about the best part since Vivian is here. Okay, hold on. The best part is not even the debate or anything. It's the best part is all of Tachyon's old comrades coming on afterwards, and Tachyon was drunk, so he doesn't remember. Okay.
No, I remember.
But basically, no. But basically, Tachyon's old comrades from the Gamergate eras coming on, going like, Tachyon, you need to move on with your life. I have a wife and children now. Listen, the old Gamergate wartime eras were over. You need to learn
That
how
was
to
one
move
guy.
on.
That was Claw.
No. It was so sad. And Yoon and I were literally like crying our eyes out because we felt so bad for you because it sounded like you were like a Vietnam War veteran who couldn't move on.
Oh my
It was
God.
so sad. You were like this. You were like, no, I couldn't. No, I couldn't. I still got flashbacks. I couldn't. Gamergate is my
To
life.
be fair,
Like,
Gamergate was pretty traumatizing for a lot of people. Look,
Yeah, true,
I'm
but
very,
Tachyon was on the attacker side. What the
What the
fuck?
fuck?
I'm
There's
very,
no-
I'm very sympathetic. I'm very sympathetic to a lot of the victims of Gamergate. And I think and as a fellow trans person, I'm fucking fully on board with Bianna Wu being generally pretty progressive on trans issues, occasionally a bit dumb on them, but generally pretty progressive on them. I think she's got a good heart and she's trying to do the right thing. I just think she's not that smart and she sometimes says dumb shit. That's it.
Well,
I'm not a
what's-
hater. Like, it just is what it is.
Ninetails, going back to-
what's
Ninetails,
your
going-
thoughts on Tachyon literally being one of the orchestrators of Gamergate?
That's a bit of a stretch.
No, not a little bit
I
of a
think
stretch.
there are.
That's a lot of a
I think there are people who got sucked into what was essentially like a rapidly radicalizing cultic movement at the time, who have since seen the error of their ways and become better people, and I
Thank
applaud them
you.
for that. I think that's a
Based.
that's a
Actually
good
based.
thing. I'm really
Actually
glad you guys came. You guys came to your fucking senses.
But we still
Yeah.
disagree with you on Gamer.
Whoa, hold on, Tachyon coming to his senses?
We never
No,
stopped.
that's
Yeah,
a crazy
you
ass
should watch our
statement.
debate
What
before
the
you
fuck?
say that. You should watch our debate before you say.
What's so
Dude,
funny,
did you hear
Ninetails?
the way Tachyon spoke
Oh,
about
just-
Gamergate? His voice was shaking and he sounded like he was on the verge of tears.
Oh yeah, there's certain points where
What? I don't know if that's. I don't
I
know.
took several W's from that.
I don't know if
Stop!
that's.
Were you
Let's not go
actually
that far.
drunk when you're
Let's not
talking
go that
about
far.
this,
Let's not go
Taki?
that far. Let's not go that far.
No.
Calm down. Fooch.
Hey, I was about to say there's so drastically different views on that debate because like I thought I lost it, and then so did some of the GG people. And then I go on Foodshops and Yoon's channel, and their whole chat is like, Tachyon won, oh my god, Tachyon. I'm like, what the fuck? I was
No,
even trying to
that
argue.
happens.
I was even arguing with Foodshops.
Or orbiters are
That
like red
happens
pills.
with
then.
online debates.
No, you
it
thought
was-
Yoon and Foodshops thought I won
yes,
too.
Yes. I did. Yoon and I did feel like you won. Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
Which is
you're also very new to this. Let's just be clear.
Me.
How many months? Just months, right?
No. Okay. Maybe we can go
Rich, I
back
was
and revisit
debating-
it, but it was
I was
just our
debating Destiny
immediate
and fucking.
thing. All right. That was
Oh,
What's his-
you're talking
Shit,
about
what's his name?
it.
but yeah.
I was
After the
debating
debate,
Destiny and whatever when
though?
you were in diapers. You're like 20, aren't you?
it's
Like,
it's so
come on.
it is funny you mentioned like after the debate, like my people thought I lost, and and then I was like I thought I did bad
Dude,
too.
your
And I'm like,
people
so I
were
was
literally me.
Tachyon, would you like to go through it?
Immediately.
We'll
we
have a
can
civil
sometime, but not right
discussion.
now. But I was just gonna
Yeah,
say, like
exactly.
it was like I was like, oh no, like I had this like whole moment. I was like, it was like the downs, like oh like super upset with myself for doing so bad. I thought, and then I it was like for 5 hours I was like super crushed, and then like
What was that?
and then I was talking with my friend. Oh, it was like 2 hours. I was like super depressed. But a friend came over and to talk about the debate too because they were watching. And they wanted to talk about how it went. And then I talked with them and I was like pretty sad. And then like halfway through, I'm like, you know what? Like I had this like super rejuvenation. And I'm like, you know what? Actually, I did pretty bad, but I'm gonna learn from this. Here's like where I went wrong in X, Y area, Z area. You know, I lost the argument. I lost the debate. I didn't lose the argument. And, like, I got myself all hyped up. And then Foodshops goes live, and I hop on. And she's like, dude, you won the debate. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, I just had this whole emotional roller coaster. I was arguing.
Context.
It's time to stop.
There's crucial context that I am the final boss of Foodshop server, and so she's constantly trying to tear me down.
What? No. that's
But
not
I
true.
re-listened
think-
to it.
think
I
you're
re-listened
fine.
to
It is.
And
I
I
get so
there,
mad when I
but-
go off on anybody.
No.
But I re-listened
You're like,
to it. It
you're like,
no.
you're like, you're like
Okay,
the
okay,
hippie
maybe,
centrist. You're like the
maybe,
hippie
no, no, no,
centrist.
no,
Like,
no,
hey,
no,
we'll
no,
just
no,
get
no, 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 no,
along.
no, no, no,
Hey,
no,
we'll
no,
just
no,
get
no, no, no.
along.
Like that's not true. Okay, maybe it's just the way I word things, but I've just always been like really blunt with how honest I am, like with everything. Like, okay, wouldn't you say
I
so,
like
Tacky?
that.
It's just that, like,
Yeah, you
like
are.
I've been really mean to you, like just with how honest I am, right? Like even in DMs.
I actually
Wouldn't you
prefer.
say so?
I prefer that. I love that. I hate it when people.
Oh,
I've been
hate
adopted
saying this,
radical
but
honesty in my own
Foodshops-
life, hardcore.
Foodshops, you remind me of a younger you, by the way.
what the stop
hate to
little
say this, but
sissing
yeah.
me? What the fuck? Why do you keep
I'm
doing
sorry,
that?
But this is what I mean. Like you, every
Why
like
do
when
you keep doing
when you
that?
counter me when I'm on your panels, it reminds me of sometimes when I've done that to people because I was like, oh shit, they're gonna talk and make me look like I'm not the biggest debater.
Why
So
do
I
you
have
keep
to
little
go.
sissing me? Oh nah, bro. Okay, hold on. Okay. Tachyon, all right? If you want, you can show the times in DMs where I've literally been straight up incredibly mean to you. I
No,
feel like
it's
you're-
fine. I know. But
No,
I don't. I
just to
prefer.
prove.
I
Just to
prefer.
prove, no,
Honestly.
literally just to prove to people. Like I like it's
Look,
not
no
just
one-
like favorable treatment to you or anything like that. Like
I never
literally,
finished my story.
there haven't. Yeah, there've been entire DMs where and streams where I've just been clowning on you, and where I've had interviews with irrelevant people like Dylan Burns. Where
I know.
I've
Oh
literally
no, I
asked
saw
Dylan
that.
Burns,
I saw that.
where
I saw that.
told Dylan Burns, what do you think of Gamergate? and then Dylan Burns was like, who the fuck cares about Gamergate? And then I was like, say Tachyon is like, bro, if anything, that's like one of the
I was
biggest
there.
rubs in the
I
feet
saw
ever.
that. I saw that. Yes.
Yeah.
Dude, if you and Yoon would like to come on to the stream where Taki and I go through the debate, I'm here for it. I'm not afraid.
Dude,
I mean,
Appa,
sure.
Appa.
Yes.
Dude,
But
you
there's
gotta.
100
You
other
gotta.
things
You want to
I
do a
have to do
GG
as well.
debate?
No,
We can
Sure,
make
not
it
at
happen.
all. Because I'd like to move on to other things
Yeah.
other than Gamergate. If you ask me, please. if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course.
But there are bigger hooplas that are more concerning than GG. Although that said, this whole Starfield hoopla did bring up GG. Occasionally, a couple of people bring up GG again. Are like, just move on to something
recently,
else.
Appa, recently, Brianna Wu went on Tim Pool's podcast to talk about Gamergate, so it might be relevant again.
With the
so
Hat Man.
You never know.
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
so if
good for them, I guess.
No, I mean, the thing is, like, if it becomes, cultures and topics rise and bend with the waves, right? If for example, the red pill may die off, but then it will come back 10 years later. I promise you. Okay?
God, I
And
don't want a Gamergate too.
will,
Fuck
you
that.
will. No. I
I'm
promise
not
you,
gonna
right?
let it
Like
happen.
these
So
things.
long as I'm here, I'll shut them all up.
Okay. Well, I mean, the thing is, like as long as there's opposition and people are willing to push it, there will always be like engagement, right? As long as there's engagement, there will always be the existence of it, right? Yeah.
Wait, so you seriously have no like you have less advice to give Tachyon on that debate than me? Because I'm starting to the more memories I think back to that debate, the more clueless you sound.
Wait, for what?
I
For what
rewatched it.
specifically?
I rewatched it the next day, and I was like, "Oh, actually, I did pretty good." I mean, there's some like I did bad at this one area and that one area and that one area. Like 3 points, I'm like, okay, I could improve on that. And I went over that with Foodshops after. There's like 3 areas where I think I could have done better, but I think.
Wait,
I
I'm pretty sure I
did
gave
well.
advice to both of you guys. Wait, what the fuck?
But if you
I'm so
have more
confused.
advice for me than Tack, then I think you missed what really went on during that debate.
Wait, no, I'm pretty sure I gave pretty equal advice. Wait, what the fuck? Or am I?
You
You're
were
saying
very-
you won in, if you're saying I lost, then you should have more advice for me.
You were
I'm just
very
saying.
bad faith on the Nathan Grayson stuff. You really probably should have
Me?
conceded that ground.
All right. Excuse
You were
me.
wrong
I
with
would
that.
like
Oh,
to
not
point
me,
out
not
that
me.
about it.
I'm
But-
probably interrupting a conversation where I'm not too familiar with. So if you could just
Move on or let me go.
get into a conversation where that is not related to in jokes
Yeah.
or
Yes.
things
I have
that
no
are
idea what the fuck's going
not
on
something
right
that I am
now.
not familiar with,
Yes.
that would be cool.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, so I've been playing the Ace Combat games. Well, to be clear, I played the 7th one like 2 years ago, and I just played the
Oh
first
god,
one,
nobody
Air
plays
Combat.
those either. Come
On-
on, like we need something relevant. No, I'm kidding. Sorry, carry on.
But
Talk
the,
about
I
Ace
played the
Combat.
first one again. I just played through the first one. The first one's it's fun. The gameplay holds up kind of, but it's very simple and it's very short and there's not much of a story, which is a little bit disappointing. But for the time, like this was it still holds up as a competent gameplay.
You got a fighter pilot as your Avi. Are you like just a big fan of fighter pilot shit in general?
I think it looks cool, and I also like space sim games more than flight ones. But
All right. Excuse me. I
How do you
hate to
feel
interrupt
about
you
the
guys,
new-
but I hate to interrupt you, but I would like to get off of this panel just for a bit because I actually have stuff to do in real life.
yeah,
If you
no,
don't
you're
mind,
good. You're good.
I gotta say just final words. Okay, I hugely appreciate being in this panel, even though I don't really talk very much, because I'm very, very glad that I'm able to listen to perspectives that I am not generally familiar with, especially when I live here in Indonesia. We don't actually generally listen to a lot of trans people's perspectives and everything like that. But I am glad that I'm able to listen to them, and I am able to listen to a side that I generally find a side, the opposition side of I general disagreements, but I'm just glad that we're able to hash it out in a civil manner, and I think you guys are very cool. Sorry, I don't know if it's okay if I refer to as you guys, but okay. But yeah.
No,
So,
it's not okay. I'm kidding. You're good. No, thanks.
Oh, dang! I should improve myself. Anyway, all right. So yeah. Honestly, Taki, thank you so much for having me, and thank you the rest of you guys as well. It's been a very, very revealing and very, very eye-opening conversation, and would like to see you all later if we can.
Okay.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, of
That's
course.
awesome.
Nice
Thanks
to
for
meet
coming
you.
on, man. It was
Alright.
awesome to see you again.
I'll see
All right.
you.
See ya.
See ya. Bye bye.
So yeah, what did you think of the latest Armored Core? Is that up your alley? Like, is that close
I
enough to the
liked
shit that you like?
I liked like Earth Siege and like MechWarrior games as a kid. I've not really played them too much as an adult. I never played the Armored Core games, believe it or not.
Everybody's going absolutely apeshit over it, but I just can't. Like, mechs are just not my thing. Like, I've never been big into mechs. Yeah.
Well, what kind of games are you into?
I mean, Baldur's Gate 3 is probably game of the year for me so far. That shit was fucking incredible, just the narrative and everything. Like, just a really, really great game, in my opinion. But, like, broadly, I probably play far too many online matchmaking games. I just play, like, fucking Apex Legends. I'm playing Blood Bowl 3 as we're talking. Because, why the hell not? I'm a bit of a Warhammer nerd. Not an actual Warhammer nerd, but, like, I grew up with Warhammer, so I like playing the Warhammer video games now.
Which
I
ones
like
for
Dark
the
Souls
Warhammer?
and shit. Like the Total War games are really great. I'm really looking forward to the new Space Marine, although, like I would say I'm more of a fan of fantasy than 40k, but I dabble in 40k too. So I'm really looking forward to the new Space Marine game because the first one was like pretty damn good fun. The multiplayer was a lot of fun. I wouldn't say it was like balanced or anything, or like a good competitive multiplayer thing, but it was a lot of fun regardless. So Total War, Blood Bowl. I think those are the main kind of Warhammer. Dawn of War I used to play a lot back in the day. I haven't played it so much anymore because Dawn of War 3 fucking sucked, but like I played the hell out of Dawn of War 1 and 2. Yeah.
Yeah, I've only played a few of the Warhammer games. I've never played the tabletop before. It looks kind of cool, but it looks like there's like just so much to it that I can't really get into it. I got enough time consuming hobbies.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of time that goes into playing Warhammer. I don't really do it anymore as an adult. Like every once in a while I'll get some models just to paint because painting's kind of chill and meditative, if you see what I mean. But I wouldn't say I'm like in the hobby anymore, really. Yeah. It's one of the things about getting old.
You do painting?
What like painting Warhammer models every now and again, yeah.
Okay, so
But
I have to go
very
too.
rarely.
And I'm going to say goodbye.
Oh.
Sorry for being more adversarial with Viv and Foodshops, I guess, than TAC.
No,
But-
it's perfect. That's what we needed.
Oh yeah, no, it was mostly for the show.
That's
I was
alright.
really
I'm used to
loving. I
5-on-1
loved all
panels.
the discussion here,
Yes.
but at the same time, sometimes I wanted to say it, and then it wasn't that I was afraid you're going to say it, Viv. It was that like there were a couple times where you diverged things away from the points that I'm more familiar with, and I was like, okay, I just got to let it roll with this, I guess.
Oh yeah, but my points are better.
Oh, okay. 9 times out of 10, I'll agree. 9 times out of 10.
What about the 1 out of 10?
Well, yeah, I'm better, obviously. No, Viv, like this is why like people need to listen to Viv and think of Viv when they think of the left. Because
Okay.
like
There's a lot of people out there who would disagree with you. Okay, according to Destiny, I'm a mentally ill tranny terrorist. So
Destiny is
there's
like
a
a
lot of
leftist,
mentally ill
in
tranny.
my opinion.
Oh, he's not a leftist.
I
But
call
like,
him Regressdestiny.
okay, but look, I'm just saying, there's
I-
a significant cohort of people
I don't
out
think
there
that's
who
really
would
fair to
disagree with you.
Destiny. I don't. But
You
It's
can,
What?
okay.
you can come at me
Oh.
over it. I don't care. I'll
He's
I'll
a
talk
he's
to
a
him about
fucking
it.
idiot, mate.
if we're
Fuck
gonna talk
that
shit
guy.
about somebody and they're not here to defend themselves, I mean,
We've
Oh,
been doing
shit.
that all night. Brianna Wu, for
Motherfucker,
example.
I didn't shit on
motherfucker,
Brianna Wu. You shit on Brianna Wu.
I did
Wait,
not.
wait,
That
wait,
was
no, 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 no,
I-
no. I think.
I,
No.
Okay,
I
good
think. I
night.
think.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Love you
Oh,
all.
yeah, bye.
All right. See ya.
I have and will shit on Destiny to his fucking face. I have done many fucking times, alright?
Well, hang on. In that case, let me invite him on. No, I'm trying. No, I'm just...
Wait. Actually.
I genuinely don't want anything to do with that cunt anymore. Like, I'm just fucking done with him. Fucking piece of shit. But, yeah, you're welcome to talk to him if you want to talk to him. It's usually not that hard.
He's actually who inspired me to get involved with streaming. Yeah.
Good for you. Well, hey, I just hope you don't end up like him.
Uh,
Maybe with the numbers, but not with the cunty attitude.
Yeah. Well, hey, any games you want to talk about now? Or Foodshops? You
Why
know?
is it specifically games?
Well, because I don't know. It was a gaming stream. I don't know. Whatever. We talk about whatever you
Oh
want.
man.
Yeah, like, okay, Starfield, alright? That's what we came here to talk about. Starfield, 6 out of 10 at best, alright? Like, anybody giving it
Jesus.
a higher review than that is like blowing smoke up Bethesda's ass, okay?
Yeah, I agree. Actually, it was gonna be a 10 for me, but then the pronouns thing happened. I gotta drop it down to a 9. No, I'm just.
What?
I'm playing.
When I started out for like the first like 4 or 5 hours, it was literally a 2 out of 10 for me because the menus are just so fucking bad for PC, for mouse and keyboard, right? Like,
Jesus.
they're horrific. They're so bad. But as I went in, you know, I found some of the charm in it. That's for sure. I did find some of the charm in it. But it's just another Bethesda game, and I think I saw somebody else say recently, like, they're kind of disappointed because it looks like a game that should have come out like 5 years ago or whatever, right? And I can't not agree with that. Like, it does just seem dated at this point.
Yeah, I like games like that generally. Like, I really enjoyed Fallout New Vegas. And then like 3 and Elder Scrolls Skyrim were like okay to me. But like I do really like games like that sometimes. Like, I really loved New Vegas. I played through like 3 or 4 times. I always do the same thing though because I changed some stuff, like small stuff up, but I always do like the same endings. Mostly.
Hmm.
Because like I don't know, I always wanted to play as like the good guy faction, so I always thought like the NCR all the way, even though they're not perfect either. But I thought that they were like actually trying to like improve the world, and we're just like not always the best at it, but they were actually trying. Anyway, but yeah, Starfield. I mean, I don't know. I've heard some like bad stuff too about it too, like it just doesn't run very well too, apparently.
Yeah, it crashes a lot. There's a lot of bugs. I mean,
Bethesda game. Yeah.
Yep. But
it's a Bethesda game in every way. And honestly, the fact that I can say Bethesda game and you just fucking know, right? Like, should say a lot about Bethesda as a company. And I think it's actually kind of sad, you know?
oh, it is.
Like, a AAA company. Like, I would expect this kind of shit from like smaller indie developers or whatever. But like, fucking, they have so much money, they have so much attention now, and their projects are they're not up to the standard that you would expect from a company with that much resources and that much like cultural clout. Yeah.
There's one thing that bothers me, and I don't want to get too political, but like it's I think it's interesting. It's not really political. It's
Before you become the most political ever, yeah.
But one thing I find that's
Oh,
interesting is in our
boy.
society. No, it's a gaming related point, I swear. But one thing that like
Oh,
our
yeah.
society has lost is like this culture
Uh-oh.
of of
Uh-oh.
people having like people willing to like step down when they make mistakes, like and resign and own up to their mistakes publicly, and like we've lost that. I feel like in the past, like maybe it's not true, but I feel like in the past, like it would be more common, like if a politician or somebody was embroiled in a scandal, that they would actually just like resign and go live out the rest of their days in like the woods or whatever. But like now they know they can probably survive it if they're in a partisan enough area, and but it's not just in politics; it's in other aspects of our life, like in business too. Like
Mhm.
one thing that I saw which really amazed me was Final Fantasy 14. The first game was a complete and utter
I love
disaster,
that game.
and then they remade it
They pulled
from the
it back
ground up
so
while
well.
fixing the old
Yeah,
game too. And it's like
yeah.
they had integrity. That's the word. They had integrity, enough integrity to like actually go in
I
and fix their mistakes and make it right. And like not and like and like what did two simultaneous projects? They repaired the original game to make it better, and then simultaneously worked on a whole new sequel that made up for all the mistakes, which is like incredible. Like you don't see stuff like that happen very much anymore in the world.
Yeah, no, can't disagree. So I got so I think also I did get spoiled by Baldur's Gate. I said that was like my game of the year so far as well, right? Like, but everything in that fucking game is like actually, you know what? I'm not gonna completely go that way, but like because it's not everything. There are definitely issues with Baldur's Gate. Like there were definitely some bugs that I like a couple of bugs that I experienced during my playthrough and so on. But broadly, that game is just so well put together. And I think while I was playing it, I was just like, I can't imagine making like storyboards for this game, you know? Like how how crazy that would be to try and put together a storyboard for this game. Um they just put so much fucking effort into it and it really, really shows. And all those developers going, oh, this shouldn't be like a new industry standard or whatever. You need to be we need to make gamers shouldn't expect this level of expansive quality or whatever. Like I agree to a certain extent, but it seems to me that Larian Studios have a particular design philosophy as well, right? That that allowed them to make this kind of game. There was like a perfect storm of shit that happened that made it easier for them for sure. Um, but they wouldn't have created the game that they did without having that design philosophy. Um, and there needs to be more of that. There's not enough of that around,
Yeah,
in my
I,
opinion.
I agree completely. It's like people like taking pride in their work and like I mean, I don't know, like, I mean, they're creating this culture, I guess, too, in their workplace where they're like that's like where it's like, okay, we have like high expectations for you and for the project, and like we want to see this succeed, and they actually like hold themselves accountable to it as people, whereas like so much of what we see or have seen like it's just like, oh, let's release like a half broken product and like whatever, they'll probably still buy it, so we're good, and they just
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
give a shit. And it sucks. It really fucking sucks in like gaming and probably in other aspects of life too.
But does anybody disagree with me about the fucking Starfield rating? I feel like 6 out of 10 is almost generous. Like like a 5 out of 10 or a 4 out of 10 would also be acceptable in my view. Because it's just so buggy. The characters are. This was why I brought up Baldur's Gate. The characters are so fucking wooden that I just can't relate to them. That you, like I said earlier, you can have relationships with the companions and stuff, and it just feels weird because these people do not feel like people.
Wait, is Baldur's Gate on Steam? Like Baldur's Gate?
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
Is it and what kind of game is it again?
it's a CRPG. So it's based on D&D 5e rules with a few changes for to make it more suitable as a computer game.
Okay, I
But
see.
it's a pretty it's a pretty solid RPG basically,
Coolio. All
like
right.
old
So
style RPG.
I've
Yeah.
actually never played any of them. Like I grew up and like on the internet, like everybody would
Mm.
talk about Baldur's Gate, like, oh my god, Baldur's Gate's like one of the greatest games ever, like on forums and stuff in like the
Yeah,
2000s.
yeah.
Like
The
people,
original Baldur's Gates are great games too, but Baldur's Gate 3 I think just is one of the best games I've ever played. Saying a lot, but yeah.
Wow. And okay, yeah, my favorite games ever that I have ever played are typically like indie games and shit.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue Larian Studios are kind of an indie studio. I don't know.
Oh.
They getting the Wizards of the Coast license to be able to do Baldur's Gate was definitely a big thing for them.
That's
so
huge. That's humongous.
whether that takes them out of the indie developer bracket for you or not, I guess is something that you could argue about, right? But
I mean, if they have like indie funding and indie like man work and stuff like that, right? Like they don't really have AAA backing. Then yeah, I would say that's indie. Yes.
yeah, I don't know about their funding, honestly. They definitely poured a shit ton of money into this game, so.
Oh, okay.
But they also spent like 9 years on it, so it's like how much of that money was spread out over such a long fucking time as well. Because they like all of the major interactions in the story and quite a lot of the minor interactions and stuff, they're mocapped. Like they're yeah. It's honestly nuts. Like I say, the amount of detail and shit.
I see.
Foodshops, you love the Ace Combat soundtrack, you said, right?
Yes,
You're always
the
posting it.
soundtrack. The soundtrack is terrific. I always felt like it's one of the most consistently amazing soundtracks I've ever seen in a game franchise. And I typically don't really like AAA game soundtracks all that much. Mainly because it just sounds generic and fake. But I always feel like the Ace Combat soundtrack, because it is made by a really passionate, like I feel like composer. It just sounds terrific in my opinion.
Yeah,
Especially
I love
like Ace Combat Zero, the flamenco, especially when the flamenco inspired soundtrack for the final battle. And then if we go all the way up to Ace Combat 7, every single track for every single mission.
Yeah.
Is
Oh, it's the whole thing. Yeah.
Stop! You're too loud. Okay,
Oh,
so if you go to yeah, know your place, bitch. I'm kidding. No. It's like, for example, if you go to the DLC music for the I even know the lyrics, and I've referenced it several times in my Discord
the
profile as
Alicorn, right?
well. The Alicorn, yeah. The Salvation Lamb, right? Rise, my Salvation Lamb, and I even know the translation for the Latin. And as well as, yeah, just everything about it, and like the lighthouse, and like literally everything. I've listened to it multiple times. The jazz as well, and just a lot about it, right? Very good soundtrack, but obviously I also love Toby Fox's works, and I've also love other works such as Katana Zero, as an indie game soundtrack, and I also love Fury, as another indie game soundtrack, a boss fight oriented, indie game, and yeah, I don't know, it's just I really appreciate, people who dedicate way too much work into these indie games that don't have as much funding as, these AAA studios, because you can sense the passion that is put into these soundtracks. And also Guilty Gear Strive, they put like a lyrical soundtrack into every single character theme. It's not even like a specifically like a whatever the fuck, right? It's like a lyrical soundtrack. Yeah, anyway, that's it.
Yeah, I've always liked video game soundtracks. Like some of them are like really incredible, like the Total Annihilation series, and like Descent, and fuck, Mass Effect. I feel like had pretty good soundtracks. Mass Effect has like some good songs, but like a lot of it's forgettable too. So like Total Annihilation and Descent, I feel like those both had like really strong soundtracks that like really hold up. Especially the first Descent. The other ones weren't as good. Also, I'm kind of dating myself. These are old games.
Yeah, you know what else is old?
Me?
What else is old, Foodshops?
What else is old?
She doesn't even need to say it.
didn't say anything. I'm just saying I never said anything. Okay,
Yeah?
I'm just gonna
you didn't need to.
I never said anything. All right, I'm
Command
just
and
saying.
Conquer's got a good soundtrack actually too.
Right?
Oh my god. Yeah, that is old.
Hey, they do make they
Right.
don't make any good newer games, I don't think, but they do make newer games.
The old Command and Conquer is like how old now? Like Command
Oh
and
god,
Conquer
the first one?
Red Alert.
Oh
Not
my
the first
god.
one. I was just thinking Red Alert. Like,
Oh, Red Alert. Let's see. It's early 90s, right? Early mid. Oh, 96 for
it's
Red
so
Alert.
old. Holy shit. Yeah. That's
Oh,
very
hang on, let
old.
me make sure that's right.
Apparently, my stream is called British friendly, whatever that means, because I when I begin my stream, it is like
96.
late. It is like late night, like 12 a.m. to 3 a.m. or so. And then when somebody goes to sleep and they wake up in time for work, they're on the public transit, and it's like I'm still streaming by that time. And then I go to sleep, and then they go to work, and then when they get off work, I begin streaming again. So I'm apparently British friendly.
God damn.
There you go.
Are you not British friendly?
British. My streams are European friendly. All right.
I think you should be friendly to us Brits. We get a lot of shit on the old internet, right?
Yeah.
It's not our fault that we're British.
So
exactly.
you two were having a conversation after this?
Not
Probably
directly after
immediately
this.
after
No.
this. Yeah.
Not directly after this. No.
Yeah. Well,
Conversation probably gonna turn to a debate, and then play it up for the drama. We'll probably scream at each other. Who the fuck knows?
I am not one of those people who plays shit up for the drama.
Yeah.
Most of the time I don't have to, so yeah.
Exactly. You
Most
got
of the
it.
time the other person brings the fucking drama, frankly. But, yeah.
Watch me. I'm gonna be like, you're that one roommate I've had so many years ago that took away that kicked the shoes under the bed. How could you? What the fuck? Why'd you do that? Also, you're on friendly terms with Wick, right?
Friendly terms, yeah.
Nice.
I don't hate Wick. I think he's another dumb dipshit fucking
What?
person. But, you know, it is what it is.
You think Wick is a dumb?
Oh yeah, no, he's a fucking massive dipshit.
What?
He's got some very silly fucking opinions on political shit.
Oh, okay. I mean, that's just opinions, though, right?
Well, yeah, but
Yeah.
like having silly opinions like can make you a bit fucking dumb.
Oh,
It depends. I guess it depends.
To be
on what
fair,
you mean by
sometimes I do cringe at his opinions as well. Like whenever he says some edgy stuff, such as like, oh yeah, I guess you can make an opinion on bombing this or bombing that, and I'm like, okay, all right, Wick, I know you're trying to play it up for the audience. Okay, I get it. All right, I get it, Wick. And then he's like this 45-year-old man, and I'm like, okay, I get it, Wick.
Bless his little cotton socks. He's so funny.
Yeah, he's like a funny old man. You know what I mean? Like it is what it is. He can't. He's like a very harmless man, but at the same time, I know he organized the panel of Xena, Destiny, and like all the other people, and he was trying to play it up for drama.
That, frankly.
Yeah, he was trying to play it up.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the streamers do that. Do that a lot, where they just like play shit up for the drama. And I think sometimes it can be fun, and sometimes it can be really harmful, and it can get very nasty. It can end up in
absolutely
really brutal harassment campaigns. And I think like your responsibility as a streamer is to like make sure that you're keeping your shit in check, and that people who don't deserve to be victimized aren't being fucking victimized.
Yeah, absolutely. And and also another thing is like, as a content creator, you have to have a big ego. Like I mean, like it's a requirement in my opinion, right? Like,
I have a terrible fucking level of self-esteem.
Really?
I just pretend. I just pretend. I'm just like,
really?
What do you mean, really?
You were saying to Ninetails, you were like, I can make your arguments a bit better. Ooh.
Okay, look, it does help that like factually, I'm a more intelligent person than the vast majority of people on Twitch.
Whoa! See, that's ego. That's
well, it's not-
ego.
I mean, is it if it's true?
I mean, yeah, I guess, but like, it's that's still ego. You can't deny that's ego. That's ego.
I look, I have good self-esteem about the things that I am good at, I guess, and then I have terrible self-esteem about everything else.
Uh,
Oh well, I'm probably gonna wrap up the panel a bit here.
uh,
Yeah, obviously you two can keep talking, but
oh yeah, yeah.